All right, we are live.
Joe Rogan podcast by day, all
Yeah,
day.
all day. Yeah, no, UFC by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, I think. Or I don't know what it is. But either way. All right. All right. So what's cool about this is I can also share my screen and stuff too. So if we ever want to watch a video and like discuss it.
Oh, nice.
I'm just everything up still. It's unfortunate. I have to go live before I can like set everything up. Okay, so I'm gonna set up Instagram and we can begin.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we were talking about Edward Bernays, the advertising guy. You asked a question, actually. What was if I read somebody or something?
No, there's a channel called Tragedy and Hope on YouTube.
Oh, is that a
guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking maybe I commented on that. He did a reading. No, actually, I don't think it was. But he did a reading of the book that Edward Bernays wrote, and then.
Oh, did he? That might have been it.
I think it was something else though. I commented on for you. I don't remember though.
Do you know how to do live on Instagram video? I feel so stupid. Or Instagram? Oh, hold on.
You just go to the left. Was it the left?
Okay.
Yeah, you pull it to the left, and then you just hit live. I'm pretty sure.
Ah, there it is. Perfection. All right. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. All right. I'm going to put that on my computer here and I'm going to go live. Unfortunately, I cannot do TikTok for some reason because TikTok, I was going to do it from the computer. You have to do it from the phone, unfortunately, since you have to do it from the phone.
They got to spy on you from the phone. The computer's no good.
Yeah. So anyway, you are a big fan of Ayn Rand, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
What is it about libertarianism that you like? Or objectivism specifically? I know you're also a philosopher too, so you like all that good stuff.
Yeah, man, I like to learn everything. So just in the past couple months, maybe the past few months, I started to get into Ayn Rand a bit. Reading her, I put it on the back burner right now, but I was reading Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal by her. I just finished 7 chapters. I mean, I don't know about her other books that she has. You know, she has Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear what her philosophy was specifically on like economics and
can you explain it for the viewers?
Yeah, so this is what I'm understanding now too, but her philosophy for the personal philosophy is objectivism, and basically it's like her moral philosophy about how we should live our lives, or at least how we can each live our own lives without disturbing someone else's life, but to use reason and logic to come to, she says, selfish virtues, like selfish in terms of like,
she thinks
I don't think it's the best phrasing of the words, but I would say maybe self-enlightened interest would be a better phrasing of
enlightened self-interest.
Yeah, that would benefit your own life and advance you in a way that you want to be advanced, and
basically
yeah,
go on. I was gonna say basically that the unregulated capitalism is the best for everybody.
Well, yeah, that is the like extrapolated version. So the objectivism is the moral philosophy for yourself and how you can go about living your life. And then when you extrapolate it to a larger scale, how other people can live their own lives, it turns into capitalism, both for like political and economic type system. So yeah.
The problem I have with capitalism is that it predicates itself on poverty. You need to have poor people in order to work the menial jobs, and the profit motive, as in like capitalism incentivizes profit seeking as the main motivator for innovation and such. And I don't think that it's actually that great, because how else would you explain things like planned obsolescence and such like that, where or the fact of the world. Oh, planned obsolescence is the reason that your phone, you need a new phone every year. They just make it like craps out after a year. Or like your car after the warranty, then the engine starts going right after the warranty. That kind of thing. Yeah. When that happens, that's called planned obsolescence. Happens with it's very profitable because it works for a little while. You can buy it, and then they have to buy a new one after a year or so, or however long the time is. And also, I mean, let's be honest. Also, climate change is a big result of what capitalism has done so far, and I don't think that it's doing the world any favors either.
Yeah, I'm just getting into some of these things. I would say I don't know if this is your first point, but you said what do you say, planned obsolescence? Is that what you said?
Yes, planned obsolescence.
I'm not sure if that's because of capitalism. I think you could make that because of anything. You can make something that's going to be shitty. It isn't a direct
that's true
resultant.
But the difference between, if I may, the difference between capitalism and socialism is that capitalism, the motivator is profit seeking, and under socialism and communism, the motivation is raising the standard of living for everyone. Whereas in capitalism, it's raising the standard of living for yourself by making a lot of money, versus socialism, where it's raising the standard of living for everybody. The main difference, the way that they accomplish that goal, the main difference is through capitalism is private ownership of the means of production, meaning the business owners, the CEOs, the shareholders, they own the means of production. And under socialism, the workers own the means of production. So if you worked at Starbucks under socialism, you would have a vote on how that was run. Whereas now it's just Johnny Starbucks just tells it how it's run. And
right. Okay, and so I think for capitalism, it doesn't just mean that profit seeking is the only motivation. It's you have to give a value to the community, to whoever, and they have to see that as value, and then they'll transact. You will trade. So
that's true. Yes.
I don't think it's necessarily just profit. It could be you have to actually provide some service, something of value that other people want. And if you're a shitty businessman, you go out of business.
That's true.
You're a good businessman, you stay in business.
However, it's a lot easier for a businessman who's already, say, was born with a lot of money or inherited a lot of money, was what I'm saying, and invested, and then they can take a lot more risks that people like you and I can't. If you and I were to start a business, we would have to take out a loan, we would have to do things, and if it failed, we'd still have to pay back that loan. I mean, we might go bankrupt, in which case we wouldn't have to, but our credit would take a huge hit. Whereas if like Jeff Bezos or somebody wanted to do that, he could just do it. He could just send it out, and if it failed, it didn't even matter. I just realized on Instagram there's no audio, so I'm going to just post this link on YouTube, and then it'll go open there. Sorry, Chris. Nice to meet you, Crystal, or nice to see you, Crystal. But unfortunately, you can't hear what he's saying. So I have to end the thing on Instagram. Anyway, so what you said was that under capitalism, you have to provide a service that people want in order to generate profit. And while that is true, it isn't something that is profitable isn't necessarily something that is good for the world. For like I said, planned obsolescence, for instance. If your product is good, but it breaks after a year, then you're just going to make a product that's good that breaks after a year so you can make more money.
Right. But on that point, though, if you provide a service that people want, people learn that, hey, it breaks after a year, they can stop buying your service. It becomes...
But then when your competitors start to catch on and they do the same thing, there's nowhere for the customers to go.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if there is and that's the whole thing about capitalism, is that if there is an opening in the market, then other people will come in and they'll provide that service if other people aren't doing a good job. And they might get away with it for a year or two or whatever. But when people catch on and say, hey, this company I no longer want to work with or buy from because it's a shitty company and they don't, they lack integrity, then
that's true. But if say let's use Verizon or Sprint or something as an example, right? So or Samsung, they make phones, or Apple even, because Apple is very big on planned obsolescence. If the workers, like the people who work at the factories, owned the company Apple, they could decide, well, do we want to make, because there's such thing as market socialism. Market socialism is an important steps onto the way to communism, which is my goal. which is, first of all, communism is not big government at all. I'm an anarchist. I'm an anarchist communist, which is actually what communism is supposed to be. The Soviets, they kind of fucked it up, and China as well. The main difference is the means of production, and socialism is when the means of production is owned by the workers instead of the business, like the capitalists. And communism is a classless, moneyless society. So it is essentially a society where there is no money, things are created, and automation is the main goal. We try to automate as many processes as we want, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. And I think that is, while capitalism may have been useful in the time, I think that is a much more prosperous end goal for all of us, because it's much more democratic that way. When you go to work under capitalism, you spend 8 hours a day, the better part of your life, your career, usually, unless you're on YouTube or something like this, working for somebody who basically has monarchy rule over you. Like, you can be fired for just about any reason. You have to do what they say. Whatever your boss says, they have to do. And if you don't like your boss, under socialism, you'd be able to vote them out. You could get with your workers and be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. We should just have somebody else do it. And then you can literally just remove them. And then, unlike under capitalism, if they get voted out of that job, they are no longer destitute. They still have guaranteed food, housing, shelter, clothes, and education. So I find that to be a much more moral goal than unregulated or perhaps enforced capitalism, which results in poverty, sickness, people's not getting access to education and things like that. Which, of course, you and I are very big on education. You seem very learned. You like to read and everything like that, right?
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that you actually might. I think that you actually, because I used to be in your position too. I used to be a libertarian ANCAP kind of a person for a while, but then I learned more about what communism actually was, instead of what the propaganda say it is, and what Marx actually wrote and everything like that, and what and particularly a man named Peter Kropotkin, who wrote The Conquest of Bread, who I believe I told you about in our discussions. I think you should read him too, because he might be very interesting to you, because they're basically they're like the opposite of Ayn Rand. It's like we're going in the same direction, and then we turn left instead of right. So it's the same foundation of the government, and the state particularly is an unjustified hierarchy. We just also think that capitalism is too. Anarchism is the philosophy of anarchism is not chaos, even though perhaps there are some anarchists out there who might want you to think that's the case, and there's people who aren't anarchists who definitely want you to think that's the case, but it's not true. Anarchism is strictly the skepticism towards hierarchy. All hierarchies should be as flat as possible, and if they are vertical, they should be self-evidently justified. For instance, a justifiable hierarchy is a parent to a child. You don't want your kid to run out in traffic and everything like that. So the parent should have control over what their child does. Or another example would be a ship, like Deadliest Catch or something like that. You need a captain at the top who's telling people what to do, but you should be able to vote on that captain, I think. It shouldn't just be whoever owns the boat. It should just be the whole crew should own the boat together, and they should vote on who the best and most experienced captain is, and put people where they would shine best. And that is the ideal for socialism.
I see. So how does that, if we're at step A, how do you get to step Z to make that happen from where we are in society right now?
Step A being right now?
Yeah.
Step 2 would be workplace democracy, which would be socialism. It would be, well, actually, that might not even be the first step. The first step would probably be Bernie Sanders' social democracy, which is liberal centrist kind of thing. Because right now, the Democrats are like center right, and the Republicans are far right. Bernie Sanders to the Republicans, because of, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term Overton window, which is the like realm of things that are normal to talk about. For instance, because Trump moved the Overton window very far to the right, and now they do crazy things. And Nixon almost got impeached, and he had to step down because they had Watergate. But there's a Watergate every fucking week, every day with Trump, and he's fine. So the Overton window has been pushed very far to the right. So Bernie Sanders, as a centrist social democrat who wants education and healthcare, free education and free healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and education for all, is actually a very center opinion, because most of Europe is like that already. In fact, a lot of Europe outside of England has the NHS. Canada has free healthcare. All of Europe, all of Western Europe has free healthcare, and most of Western Europe even has free education. Particularly Germany. Germany has free education for I think the first 4 years at least, and it also has very good public housing to prevent homelessness. And now, and social democracy is a way of sort of socializing capitalism. If you're a social democrat, you sort of subscribe to the idea that it takes money to make money, which is true. Neoliberals like Ayn Rand, who want unregulated laissez-faire capitalism, think that, it's all your personal responsibility, which is completely untrue. People are born poor, people are born rich, and the people who are born poor are at a significant disadvantage, especially if they don't have access to education and healthcare and things like that, and cars and all that stuff. So if social democrats like Bernie Sanders believe that you should have free healthcare and free education. And then the next step after free healthcare and free education, after assuming we get Medicare for all and then free education for all, then my next goal would be free, good public housing. People could still buy houses and buy nicer houses, but projects would be completely rebuilt from the ground up. Because right now projects are crime-ridden, very brutalist architecture. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, which is made of concrete and bricks, and it looks like a prison, basically. They look like prisons, and they're terrible upkeep, and of course they don't have access to education and healthcare, and so it's terrible. So the first thing I would do would be invest in our poorest communities, get education and healthcare for all, free public housing for those at the bottom, with the ability to purchase more, so that homelessness is eradicated. And then after that, it would definitely be socialism, which is workplace democracy. The workers, the people who actually do the labor, own the means of production, which is the businesses. So they would be able, like I said, the Starbucks would be owned by the workers. Tesla would be owned by the people who make the cars, and Amazon would be owned by the people on the floor. In other words, Bezos and Musk and everybody would be congratulated. Thank you for contributing to society. But the people on the ground floor can run the businesses more ethically and oftentimes more profitably than the tippy top person and the shareholders.
Okay, so who in that case gets the money and splits it up, and then who starts the business in the first place if it's not one person taking the risk?
You're right. So it would be, first of all, business loans would be a lot easier. And also a lot of them would probably be would have no interest on them. They would be like student loans, basically. You would just say, I have an idea, I want to start a business. And then you would go, and you would own it until maybe, I don't know. It's kind of up for debate at this point, when it would switch over. But basically I would say, honestly, you could probably do it as soon as there's two people, because you started the business. Your employee would probably want you in charge because you would know what to do. However, they would have as much say as they wanted to do it. But if say it was like, I don't know, a bike building business, and you were repairing bikes and everything like that, and then you just got another employee to help you repair the bikes, then in that case, I would say perhaps you could still have more say over that person. But after you had, like, I don't know, 10 or 12 people, I'm not sure the exact time, or the exact amount of people, but eventually it would come that if you work for the company, you have as much say as anybody else. But people would be voted into positions of hierarchical structure based on merit, rather than based on wealth or connections, as they are now.
Okay, so because this is what I think about too, with socialism versus like capitalism. Is a capitalism, you have the freedom to choose all these different things. Under socialism, no one has the freedom to. You must adhere to this guidance. Versus under capitalism, if you guys wanted to come together and come up with the structure and have a socialistic design for a company, you could do that. But why?
And
yeah.
To answer your question, that is actually a misconception. Like I said, socialism does not equal big government. I am an anarchist, after all. So I am as little government as possible. Even less government than the Republicans say that they want, even though they went for the Patriot Act, which is very big government. But basically, the choice thing, market socialism, is a thing. Unfortunately, there was less of a commodity market under the Soviets, but China is considers themselves communist, but they are very commodity focused. In fact, most of our commodities are actually made in China right now.
What do you mean I don't think they're communists at all.
No, they aren't. They aren't. They're what's known as state capitalist. And so were the Soviets, actually. The Soviets were not communist either. They claimed to be communist. But what they were is, instead of business owners owning the companies, the government took ownership of all the companies.
Yeah, so I don't think that's good.
I agree. I disagree. I agree completely. I think that's a terrible idea too. I don't like. I think probably it's very efficient in some areas, but I think what's it called? State capitalism is probably one of the worst, alongside with, in my opinion, neolibertarianism, which is the unregulated neoliberalism, unregulated capitalism. And that is not what I advocate. That is authoritarian socialism. I advocate libertarian socialism. So that means that the people can make whatever they want. Basically, the workers decide together what they want to do. If you have an idea, go right ahead. Like I said, the loans are easy to get for whatever startup you need, and then your employees would then help you, and they would also have a democratic say after a certain point, after a certain size, based on the thing. In what commodities you make. We would still have, because it's not capitalism that made the cell phone. In fact, the smartphone, the iPhone, was made, almost all of the technology was made by the US government and the military. And then Apple just took the ideas and put it into a cell phone. That it wasn't capitalism, it was actually labor that created the cell phone. And the smartphone. So you would still have labor under socialism. In fact, it's just a different way of organizing it. It's a more democratic organization, more opportunity and say, based on even if you have a very if you have a very low job, you still get a say in how the business is run, even if it's just one vote.
Each person only gets one vote, or more? Some votes are weighted heavier than other votes, or what?
It is predominantly one person, one vote. So democratic as possible.
What if you have we'll say the proletariat and the bourgeoisie class, and then the proletariat wants to, take over, and they have more votes, but they don't know how to run the company because they haven't, they don't have the actual experience or knowledge or wisdom. So what would happen?
Well, first of all, if you believe that, then you shouldn't like capitalism, because isn't the idea of capitalism that anyone can start a business? Surely there's much. If that's how you feel, if you feel like the proletariat don't know how to run the business, then surely you can't. Then capitalism sounds like a terrible idea, because then you could never come up with an idea, because unless you're a bourgeois already. Proletariats come up with ideas all the time. Proletariat just means working class. In fact, they come up with most of the great ideas.
Yeah, I'm not saying they can't, but I'm saying in the case where it's like an Amazon shelf stocker, he just puts boxes onto it, and now he gets one vote, and the other 20,000 employees get one vote, so they have 20,000 votes, and then you have Jeff Bezos, and he gets one vote.
Well, everybody in that case has the same material interests in that case, which is that Amazon stays running and they keep getting paid. So obviously, if they start doing something that is making the company go down, then people are going to vote for changes, and those changes will be implemented. So if it ever...
But isn't there a difference between keeping it in business and then maybe having the greatest business ever, or whatever Bezos' vision of his company?
I mean, if under socialism, under my system, if Bezos had the best idea in the world, he would have just as much opportunity to say it as he does now, except under my system, if it wasn't Bezos, but it was the guy if the guy putting the boxes on it had an idea to more efficiently automate the production of boxes, then that person has just as much chance of their idea getting heard and implemented as Jeff Bezos. Not only that, speaking of automation is a huge problem for capitalism, because when you automate those jobs, people get out of those jobs and then they no longer can work. Under communism, you want automation as soon as possible, because the sooner you automate, the less work we have to do overall. And then we can move on to more things that we'd rather do. The person who puts the boxes on the Amazon cart doesn't like doing that. There might be one or two people out there who enjoy that job, but nobody, by and large, people who do that job don't actually enjoy it. So if they could not have to do that, they would probably do that. But under capitalism, if that gets automated away, hundreds of thousands of people are now out of work. Whereas under socialism, that would be a good thing. They would have more opportunity to do things better and use their brain more.
So do you think any country has ever had a complete capitalistic society?
Neoliberalism?
without government interference, and crony capitalism and this whole
Well, unfortunately, I think crony capitalism is actually more of a result of unregulated capitalism than regulated capitalism. Sure, there is a sort of devil handshake deal with the government that helps crony capitalism, but I actually think that during the time, you've heard of J.P. Morgan, of course, right? And the captains of industry, or the robber barons, as they're called by the people who don't like them. That time was pretty close to as unregulated as possible capitalism. And what developed? Monopolies. JP Morgan, he bought the train, he bought all the train like companies, and if he couldn't, he gave them good deals, and he made it difficult for his competitors and other oil industries to do it. And the steel industry got really good, and working conditions were terrible at that time. And it was thanks to riots and protests and the New Deal that really put an end to that finally. Which is a leftist thing. I forget his name, but the president, FDR, I believe, I'm not sure, but the guy who did the New Deal, he basically this was also about the time that World War I and II were starting, so communism was on the rise, and socialism the Cold War hadn't happened yet. So people didn't have a bad taste in their mouth when they hear the word communism. So there were a lot of workers' riots and things that were happening that time, and people were going to the president like, "Oh my God, they're gonna have almost a revolution on our hands. We need to do something." And FDR was like, "Okay, guys." He went to the companies and he was like, "Look, let's establish this thing called Social Security so that people can retire." That's how Social Security started. He said, "I need to tax you guys a bunch," and they were taxed very highly back then, and they agreed to it. In order to pay for social services, put people, improve these conditions, establish the 8-hour workday. Before that, it was kind of just however long they could get you to work. The 8-hour workday, overtime was established at that point. And these are all leftist ideas. And as well as paid vacations, maternity leave, and like I said, Social Security, and unemployment benefits. These were all basically came out of about the New Deal time. And that's basically what saved capitalism. They were essentially about to overthrow capitalism at that point, but they basically turned it into social democracy, or at least they socialized it more than it was. And they also established a lot of safe workplace safety things like OSHA and stuff like that, so that violations, people would be more incentivized to do it to keep their workers safe. Because under unregulated capitalism, if you just look at the Industrial Revolution, it was terrible. We had child labor, and people were dying all the time, and also no education. You put the child in work. They didn't go to school. The school came later. Unfortunately, the school was a good idea. Public school was a great idea, but it was actually to make better skilled laborers. But and of course, that's why I would push for more education. So it was social democracy kind of that saved unregulated capitalism in those times.
Yeah,
I hope that answers the question.
I'm not sure. Because I need to read more, honestly, of some of these.
You
people.
should.
But
reading is important.
Yeah, I know. I read basically every day, but you only can process so much information.
Of course, yeah, dude. It gets to be too much.
Yeah. It seems at least from Ayn Rand and the Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal book, that I think rules started to come in. Like the first one that maybe was passed was like in 1890. I forget what law it was specifically, but it already began the process of, instead of having a laissez-faire free market one, it was already giving politicians power to dictate laws over the economy, making it harder for anyone else to just get in and start up. And then it started, like, that was the first one, she said, in 1890. And I don't know all the other ones that were after that, but it seems like there hasn't been a country really in history that's had like total free market, laissez-faire capitalism. And she talks about a lot of the misconceptions, people thinking that it would lead to monopolies, but it's only when government interference comes in and then will team up different people together, prevent smaller ones from being able to get in because there's greater restrictions, greater requirements. Even the one, what was the one? Antitrust. She talks about antitrust is that
yeah, Teddy breaking up the monopolies, which was a good thing. It was a good thing. I find it ridiculous that she doesn't like that. But go on.
But antitrust, so it's like because I've heard other people say this. It's like if your price is too low, then they'll say, "Hey, what's going on here? You're cheating the system." If your price is too high, then it's like, "What are you doing? You have a monopoly." Or if your price is the same as other people, it'd be saying, "Hey, you're in cahoots with this other person." and there's no way to really escape this law that has come down on people. I think it's the antitrust law. That might have been the one in the 1890s.
Yeah. Well, the antitrust laws were to prevent, were to break up the monopolies into separate companies.
And it created more as a result.
It created competition, competition, which is a good thing.
No. What the politicians and the law said it was to create competition, but really it did the complete opposite of it. The surface level, like a lot of socialist policies on the surface, they seem like it's going to be a good thing, but then if you actually see the consequences of it, which a lot of the time you can't see the consequences of it because it gets misplaced during all the other things that you could point to. So that was it.
An important thing that's missing from that statement is that even if the broken up monopolies reformed the monopolies, they were still monopolies in the first place that needed to be broken up. So the monopolies developed, and then Teddy Roosevelt was president, and he broke up the monopolies. And if they did, and they do oftentimes just sort of sink back together, because I mean, if you're a capitalist and you're making a lot of money, buying your competition is the best thing you could do, because then you don't have to compete anymore. So monopolies are basically the goal of capitalism. You want to capture as much of the market and market share as possible. And if you have to, and you can do that through mergers and buying out competition, or if you're like Amazon and somebody tries to make a competitor with Amazon, you lower your prices really far down so that they can't afford to start up, and then when they fall out, then you raise your prices again.
Right. So what happens though if you create a monopoly though, and you're able to have it? Then what happens if your prices become too high?
Starvation, poverty. You still make money because there's still people out there, but a lot of people are shit out of luck.
So wouldn't you think though also another consequence could be that
you're right? Eventually
a company could come in and then create a product and sell it much lower than whatever the price is that you're offering?
Not if you have complete market share. Not if you have a monopoly. Now, obviously, it would be tough to have a global monopoly, but let's be honest, Amazon pretty much has a global monopoly on online distribution.
Well, was that the result of free market capitalism, or is that the result of government intervention and lobbyists and laws to prevent other people?
Well, it's actually both, which is why I'm an anarchist. It's a leftist anarchist, a classical anarchist. It's basically Bezos. Amazon makes a lot of money, starts buying out competition, and then at the same time, while they're capitalizing over things, they invest in lobbyists and laws, and have companies like ALEC, which I forget what they stand for, but there was this huge scandal with this company called ALEC, where basically they were just a lobbying firm, and they would just write laws that would give companies just basic, like, complete freedom. And thankfully, thanks to journalists like Last Week Tonight's John Oliver, who brought to light the problems of ALEC, they were sued, and they are no longer allowing them to, as you say, use the government to enforce their monopolies as well. So it is a little bit of both. If there was unregulated capitalism, you would still develop monopolies, regulated or unregulated, as long as lobbying is around and money is in politics, or money makes stuff happen. Monopolies will develop. Another example of very close to unregulated capitalism is the Mexican, like Mexico. A lot of it is run by the cartels, and they enforce because there's no government. There is a government, but the government doesn't really do anything and is mostly bribed out. They enforce their markets with guns and gangs, and they literally kill rival cartels if they don't work together. And if you had unregulated libertarian capitalism, there would be paramilitaries that would, like private police would be a very big thing, because the rich would buy them to enforce their market share and make sure people didn't steal from them, make sure people bought their stuff, and make sure competition didn't come in and break up their monopoly.
Okay, so I think what you said there is definitely not what Ayn Rand is for, nor what I'm for, but
that is the result of unregulated capitalism.
I disagree. The purpose, she says, of government, and I agree with this, the purpose of government is to do three things. It's to protect people from exactly that, from coercion, from people coming in and threatening you or killing you. And then the second purpose is to prevent overseas people coming into our country and doing the same thing. And the third one is to have a judiciary system to, arbitrate what happened. This is the result of this. If you break this law, this is what happens, and decide on the punishment. But yeah,
so why would you want to get rid of that?
I'm sorry?
Why would you want to get rid of that then?
I wouldn't.
Okay, so Ayn Rand does not want is not a total. You don't think that she's a total libertarian, neoliberal, and anarcho-capitalist?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure all the names. She would also be very upset if someone called her a libertarian, because that's not her viewpoint.
Okay, she's an objectivist, which is a kind of that's a kind of silly name for like imagine calling your philosophy, your point of view, objectivism. That's a little bit presumptuous, don't you think?
No, why?
Because it's wrong.
What do you mean?
It's just provably false. Like objectivism is the whole, personal responsibility, pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing, when in actuality the poverty, lack of access to education, like poverty creates crime, and lack of access to education also does that. So if you don't have access, it takes money to make money. So if you don't have money, you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can't buy bootstraps to pull up.
Okay, I'm not sure. She never says pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Her objectivism philosophy is that there is a reality. There are objectively right things to do and objectively wrong things to do. Like, for example, the purpose of the government to protect you from killing each other. So it's objectively wrong to kill someone no matter what, unless maybe in self-defense. So that would be an
objectively wrong to kill somebody no matter what. There's shades of gray. So there's shades of gray, you admit. It's not objectively, it's not.
No, if someone's coming to kill you, it's okay to kill them, but to just go and kill someone, it's wrong.
Okay, so there are shades of gray, though. Murder is not blanketly wrong. Killing in self-defense.
In self-defense is okay.
So shades.
I don't know what other shade of gray there is. Like, someone takes your French fries and you kill them, or you don't like your wife anymore, you kill them. No shade of gray. It's only in self-defense. Is it okay?
What about the death penalty? How do you feel about that? Are you for or against?
It's not something I've gotten too deep into it. I think what we have maybe with a lot of these questions that you would have and I would have, the current system that we have is not anything close to what the view I would want of it, and you'd have to take steps to go back to get back to the step or the stage that it should be at. Yeah.
Well, let me go back to what I was saying about the name objectivism. Whether or not you agree with it is immaterial. What if Plato just what if socialism was called objectivism? What if it was just like, what if I was like, I'm objectively correct, whatever I think is true? It is, you're right. It's the belief that there are truths in this universe that are objective, which I do agree with.
Yeah.
But it is a specifically economic policy that is based in neoliberal privatization, free market, laissez-faire capitalism. If that was separated from objectivism, then really objectivism would just be the saying things exist. Could you think of what objectivism would be if you took out free market capitalism besides that?
Okay, so objectivism is a personal philosophy how to live life. It's not a political system. The political system, what is
objectivism then? Perhaps I don't know what it is. Would you explain it to me then? Yes, please read.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to I'll try and do the best I can. I'm not an expert, but also the capitalism is what she says is kind of, that's what I said, is the extrapolated form when it turns into a political system, so that you can have the same structures in place that would not impede on the individual. So objectivism is that there's objectively things that are right and there's things that are wrong, like murder. That's not objectively right any way that you want to
how do you feel about abortion?
Let me just finish what I'm saying.
Well, because some people argue that abortion is murder, and I would disagree with that. But continue.
Okay, so let me just finish this. And she argues basically is the individual is, the sovereign being, autonomous. You can use reason, you can use logic to come to different conclusions. And that is the thing that, obviously, it's the thing that separated us from other beings and other species. And if you want to, in any kind of system, you still need logic and you still need reason. And that it's never okay really to put the collective goals over the individual goals. because the individuals, if you talk about caring about minorities, then you don't care about minorities if you don't care about the individual, because the individual is the smallest minority there is. And what is good for you is good for other people. What is good for advancing yourself is good for other people. As long as you're not doing anything that's harming people or putting them in harm's way or hurting them, any of this stuff, it's good. And you should be able to do that no matter what. There shouldn't be someone that comes in and enforces their belief system on you. You have to do this because we said so. It's what we all voted on, so you have to do it. There's none of that. It's just you get to advance yourself in the world doing according to your own philosophy on life, which in that case is just what you want to do and how to like self-enlightened interest. She says selfish virtues. That's it on the objectivism. It's a personal philosophy. It's not a political system.
Okay, so would you agree? So what if you're? I mean, it sounds very libertarian. Would you agree that objectivism is that there are objective truths in the universe, and extrapolated from those objective truths in terms of economics, objectivism states that free market capitalism is objectively the best economic system that could ever be created. Is that correct?
I think up until this point is the best system. Without, but that's what I'm saying with these different things you're talking about. I think there has to be a separation of economics and state, not just church.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
Like economics and state. There's no interest to lobby to the politician. There's no interest to do that because
I think there should be no state. I'm sorry. Right. Keep going.
Well, I think the state, for the purpose of protecting people, the three things I mentioned, but other than that, they do nothing. They serve no other purpose, and that's it.
So so objectivism states that the government serves the three purposes, and what are those three purposes again?
Protect the individuals from coercion, from outside force, to protect the foreign forces from coming in and doing the same thing to us, and then to have a judiciary system to be the judge of what happened if you hurt someone or this happened, you broke a law. Okay,
so the government should have no say in people's lives and their economics. They shouldn't be taxed except for to do those three things.
Right.
Correct?
Everything else is left up to the private sector.
Okay. So what about the roads then? The roads are something that are not protecting people from coercion. They are not protecting from invaders, and they are not doing judiciary things. Yet the government paving the roads is way better than private companies paving the roads. Because if private companies paid the roads, they would just pave the roads to their businesses. How would you get? You would have to buy a road near your house. You'd have to pay literally to have a road built to your house. Whereas nowadays we have roads, and you pay to have your house built on the road unless you're buying a house that's already built. How would you say to that?
I'm not sure, because I was just looking at that for these answers. But I didn't really watch the full video yet to see the answer. But
okay, do we want to watch the video together?
Or you buy property. Step 2, you pave it.
Yeah, but right now the government does that, and I don't have to, and you don't have to. I can't afford to buy a road.
Why do we need to pay for a middleman for all these different purposes that you're talking about? Who takes maybe 90% of the money that we give them, and then only 10% actually goes to the actual thing that's supposed to do.
The middleman, there's still a middleman. The road paver. Under objectivism, you would have to pay the road paver.
This is the same thing with this. It's the same thing with other different policies that we think that we need the middleman of the government to do it. When the government's main incentive is to fail. When it fails, it's like, you know what? You know why we failed? We didn't have enough funding. We need to get more funding so we can go out and try it again and do it better. Like, it doesn't have any skin in the game. So there's no incentive for it to even do a good job. It has intellectuals that sit up in their ivory towers and they come up with these planning and these policies, and then it gets implemented. If it doesn't work, you know what? We needed more money. That was why it failed. It doesn't. It's not in the private sector where it did a bad job. It goes out of business, and we don't keep those same people making those same mistakes.
What about 2008, the financial collapse when we had to bail out the banks?
I think I was reading someone else's comments saying that was when we switched from whatever we had to like the state capitalist system, or the other thing that you said, because it's a welfare system for businesses which shouldn't exist. We shouldn't be bailing out.
Right? That's ridiculous. Agreed. Yeah, they should have the right
free
to
market
fail.
Either. It's not free market.
No, it's not. It's socialism for them, but not for us. So it's kind of funny that those people that like to spout low taxes and all that stuff kind of we're totally happy to take the money now, especially the cruise ships now. They're a big one in the airlines. They wanted bailouts because of the whole COVID thing. Isn't that the market? The coronavirus happened. Planes should go out of
Well,
business.
this is what should happen or should have happened, is that government should have no say in what businesses do. If they want to keep their business open during a war, during a pandemic, let them keep it open. Don't interfere with their lives.
So you agree that the airlines should have gone under and the
No,
banks
I do not
back
agree
in
with
2000.
that. I
So you agree
disagree that
for
a
bailout.
government should not have the power to tell them that, hey, you can't fly planes now. You can't go to this country. We can't have people from China come in. We can't have people from Europe come in. I don't agree that they should have that power to dictate
bailouts,
what a private company does.
Bailouts are not part of those three things, though. I'm asking about bailouts. I'm not asking about closing or opening. I'm saying, should the airlines, like, assuming the government does not tell them to stop, but people choose to stay home because of the thing, and then the airlines go out of business.
Then they go out of business. But so you leave it up to the private sector. You leave it up. If I want to keep running my restaurant, then I can keep running it. We can't have the government come in and force you and arrest people that try and come to the restaurant because you're not allowed to be open. That's wrong.
What if you've had this restaurant in your family for 3 generations and then suddenly COVID hit and no one's coming in? You can still be open all you want, but nobody wants to come in because they're all staying home. And then your business goes out and then you're out of business.
Yes, at least you have the freedom to choose. You don't have someone coming in with force and preventing you from having the choice.
What choice are you really making if nobody's coming to your business because of COVID anyway? You might as well just close it at that point.
Well, it doesn't change the starting point of my hypothesis. You have the freedom to choose. The government can't come and stop you from doing it. If you go out of business because people don't come in, you go out of business. That's how the free market works.
So you think that the quarantine was unwarranted? We should not have a government-enforced quarantine,
Government shouldn't be allowed to tell the citizens to do that. It shouldn't be
really, not even as a suggestion.
I'm sorry.
Not even as a suggestion.
Sure, you can do a suggestion, but when you're coming in and you're arresting a business owner for trying to open a hair salon and make money so she can pay for her food and for her kids, like.
Okay, so what happens when that hair salon owner gets sick because they had to stay open because they had no other source of income and they could only stay open, so they had to get, and one customer came in and they got sick from that one customer, as opposed to having a quarantine, stayed home, have their income continued by the government so they don't go out of business, and then when the quarantine is over, lifted and then back to the market.
That your second scenario should not be a scenario that should happen in the United States of America, ever.
Okay, if you say so. Well, fair enough. Then let's go. Let's move on. So are you an anti? So you're a freedom of autonomy. You don't believe people should have to be forced to wear masks, right? Yes, America,
right? Of course not. I already told you the 3 policies the government should do.
What about?
It should have
okay. What about in a business? What if a business do you think that a business should be allowed to force people to wear masks on their premises? Or should I be allowed to not wear a mask?
If they're private business and you don't want people without them to come in, then that's your choice. And if there's other businesses that say, hey, we're not going to fall for the scam that the government's doing to us, and you want to come in without a mask, please come in without the mask.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Going back to policies and things like that. So obviously you think that abortion should be legal then because the government can't enforce what you do with your body, right? Or no?
I don't know, but I don't like how you're being aggressive to put different stances on me.
I apologize. I do not mean to do that.
Okay.
Which is why I asked your opinion. How do you think but I presume based on what you've told me, that you would be pro-choice because the government should not have hands in that decision, correct?
I think once the baby could come out at that point and be alive, then I don't think you should be able to have a baby, and kill it. If it's before the point of it actually being able to come out and be alive, then like, what? At the same time, like, what the fuck are you waiting for to have a baby in your body for like 6 damn months, and then you're like, you know what? Now I'm gonna get it. But I'd say once it could come out and be alive, then no, it shouldn't. You shouldn't be able to.
Okay, so do you consider abortion to be murder after a certain point?
After, like I said, after the actual like, say there's a potential for a baby, and then there's a reality for the baby. Once the reality of the baby is here, then you're murdering it and you're killing it. Yes.
Okay. So then how about this? Would you consider this to be murder then? If a person working on a factory assembly line gets their leg broken, and like permanently like removed, and then they are not killed, but they can no longer work. And now the government is not, under your ideal scenario, I'm imagining there would be no government assistance. So this person now cannot work anymore, and they lose their income. They can't pay their house, they can't buy food, and then they eventually die. Would you consider that the owner of that business to be the one who killed them?
Wait, they got wait, they just lost a leg or they got killed?
They lost a leg, but as a result, they could no longer work. They could no longer afford food. They get kicked out of their apartment, and they die homeless on the street.
I don't know. I haven't thought through that one for the it doesn't fall into the 3 categories of protect the people, another invader coming in, or
unless you consider Social Security to be protecting the people, in which case that would be that's something that one could argue is under the first law of protecting people from danger and coercion.
Okay, wait. Explain to me Social Security real quick.
Well, I'm saying what's the word? Disability benefits. If someone the government right now has a department called OSHA, I forget exactly what they stand for, the Occupational Safety Hazard Association or something like that. And if under right now non-free market capitalism, regulated capitalism, right now OSHA would make sure that company was doing everything they could, and that the person it's their own fault and not a dangerous workplace. For instance, the person lost their leg due to their own negligence, not due to the negligence of the company, like say something falling from the ceiling or something exploding and breaking its thing off. Would you consider that then to be would be the first rule? Would you consider unemployment benefits or rather disability benefits to be a protection that the government could provide, or no? Because in that case, if you say no, that's okay.
If they hurt themselves, no.
Okay, they should not receive benefits if no. Okay, so
if they had something that was harmful at the workplace, then that should be a situation where the government says, hey, this wasn't safe because it was your negligence and it should have been up to safety.
But even let's say that it was that person's own negligence, the result is still the same. Even if they were an idiot and they put their hand in the furnace, put their leg in the tree chomper or whatever, and they lost it, and then they lost, and then the OSHA's like, well, you were dumb. That was your own fault. You're fucked. Now that person still can't pay their bills. They don't get disability insurance. They can't buy food, lose their house, die on the street.
Right.
But is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if that exact scenario would play out, because when you get hurt, and that's what we're saying, is leaving things up to the private sector. One's like the actual businesses that will join the private sector will actually maybe be wanting to do it. And at the same time, if you're someone who got hurt, then these different people will now have a lot more money that they're not paying to the government. And if you needed help, you can come to them, maybe family or friends. And if you're a good person, there's probably a chance of them helping you out, or a chance of an organization existing that could help you out. A charity? Right. And because if people aren't already paying all this money to the government and don't have extra money to, give out, then it's going to be a lot more difficult in the current scenario that we're in. If we're basing our ideas off of the current scenario and how people are situated in how our lifestyles are now, then it's different. Yeah. So,
are you for or against basic income, universal basic income? Have you heard of that? I imagine you're not for it.
It's a non-solution to a non-problem.
Okay. So what is the non-problem? Automation?
Quoting, do you know Naval Ravikant? I think that's his name. Yeah. Naval Ravikant.
No, I haven't. I could check him out. I imagined you were quoting something. Is that what?
Yeah, that's what he said. It's a non-solution to a non-problem. But
okay, what does he mean by that?
I mean, I think it could turn into a problem, but he meant non-solution is that and I looked this up. He didn't say this directly, but how, you have like a chart of the different jobs that people have. And as the bottom ones move out of automation, the whole sector of jobs move up, and then new jobs are created. And, but yeah, that's it. That's it.
Okay. So you are of the opinion, if I may, that automation will never become a problem.
For what? Bullshit jobs?
For unemployment. It will never cause mass unemployment.
It's gonna put bullshit jobs out for sure, but it's gonna be a new sector of jobs created. And I'm not sure though that people that don't really have skills and they stay in these dead end towns that they don't want to leave because for whatever reason, oh, my family's here, and they don't have any incentive they feel to move or actually do something with their lives. They might be completely out of everything though.
What if you can't afford to move? You wanted to, but you wanted to go to the businesses, but you just don't have enough money, and now you're out because of automation. Is that your fault?
Look, I don't point blame on different people, but
well, blame is a very big part of objectivism. It's it's personal responsibility.
Blame, in my opinion, I think blame is more of like, oh, it's this person's fault that you're in this position to start with, but it's not the same thing as like personal responsibility where it's like you're choosing to. I mean, I don't know how many situations you could actually think of that, of different families that already have, we'll even say like in a trailer park, I guess, in their places. It could be, that's what I'm saying, where we have to do steps to get back to A from where we fucked up so many times. It could be where government could come in and help you pay the moving cost to get to this new city, and then that's it.
What would you do if, for some reason, obviously you don't work on a factory, but if you were the person who lost their leg and you could not no longer do your career that you were planning on doing? I mean, imagine you're a YouTuber. So let's say, I don't know, you lost, I don't know, you had a head injury. And you suddenly you can't convey the messages as you'd like to no longer, and you're basically bedridden. What would you do in that position?
If I couldn't convey the messages anymore, I'm assuming I can't really convey anything. So
should you just die?
Probably.
Oh, okay. And you're okay with that? Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least as long as you're logically consistent, that's all that matters with me. I see. I disagree. I think that people have, especially if you are, especially if you believe in pro-life under certain circumstances, I think that one should take that out of the womb instead of just in the womb. I think that if you're going to force people, which I'm not saying you agree with, because you said you somewhat disagree with, but if I'm for people that say that for pro-life people, I think that they should also be they should be Medicare for all, because if you're pro-life, everybody has the opportunity of life. People shouldn't die of starvation or homelessness, at least in my opinion. Because what's the point of having a baby, forcing a baby to be born if the parents can't afford to keep it alive?
Right. What I mean.
Yeah. What's the point?
Why would you be having sex without protection to begin with? In that case,
because it's fun. I mean,
it's a series of bad choices.
It's true, but not if you are the okay. So then what if it's not a series of bad choices and you have a child? And then you suffer a terrible car accident and you can't work anymore. And now your child is going, and your wife or whatever, your girlfriend, or, or perhaps you're a single father, let's say, and you have a child because, you're taking your responsibility. You had unprotected sex. It didn't work out with your wife or your girlfriend, but you take care of the child. And now you've suffered a car accident and the child now no longer has your income.
Again, this is left up to the private sector. And in this hypothetical scenario,
how would the private sector solve this, do you think?
They would set up situations maybe that are in this case. And if not, then you go to your family or you go to your friends and you see who can take care of your kid because you can't do it anymore. And
yeah, at least hopefully okay. So you believe in, then by extension, I would guess, private orphanages?
Dude, I don't know. I haven't thought about that.
Privatization.
What do you mean, private orphanages?
Well, right now, I mean, I'm sure there are some private orphanages, but I imagine a lot of orphanages are given a lot of support by the government because they are something, kids without parents are kind of, helpless people who need help. But the privates, but without governmental help, it would be entirely privatized, as you said, right? So all orphanages would have to be profitable. Otherwise, they would have to close their doors. Which essentially would come down to probably selling children, which obviously it costs money to adopt, but that's literally what they're doing. That would be a private orphanage. Is that a solution that you would agree with? Or do you think that perhaps in the cases of orphanages, the government might be able to help out?
Okay, wait. So I have to think through this because I don't ever.
By all means.
I don't ever think about orphanages really. So
it's a
kids,
good thing to think about.
Their parents died, and now they're just kids by themselves. In normal cases, the government comes in and brings them to a government facility.
Yeah,
and
or
then
foster homes, things like that.
and and then some other people, some other families, if they choose to, they can adopt these kids into their house.
Yeah.
But they don't have to pay to adopt these kids, or they do.
They probably do, but I imagine that it's made. I don't actually know. We could look it up, but I imagine that. Well, I know actually in the case of foster parents, they actually get paid to raise the children. They actually are given money from the government to do that, and the organizations
Foster
that
just means you raise the kid until a certain age and then you're done. Is that it?
it just means that it's like adoption, but not quite. It's like foster is like the kid needs a home, but it's generally temporary. Yes, it could be permanent, and if you choose to adopt the kid, but the kid is not legally your child. You are just the guardian of them.
Okay.
And you do get paid by the government to do that. So if we took
think
away that, you would have to. They would literally have to buy the children.
Well, I don't know if they'd have to buy the children because there'd be different organizations that set up. I'm sure tons of people would be happy to help out with orphanages. Just regular people that don't want to go through the whole government process of doing it. I'm sure there's tons of people that actually want to work for a company like that.
Do you think that, I mean, okay, so let's keep going into this because this is an interesting topic because I don't think about orphanages a lot either. Okay, so private orphanages, it really would be because again, the orphanage would have to close if it wasn't profitable. So if the donations weren't enough and the money from the adoption agency was not enough, these children would be out on the street, first of all, because it's a private organization.
Other orphanages that were profitable would come in. I mean,
okay,
a GoFundMe,
there's a lot of kids out there.
A Kickstarter, a GoFundMe. I know we're talking specifically in the USA, so we're only
How
worrying about
often. I hear that a lot, the GoFundMe thing. And you know what? You see it on the news. Sometimes it goes viral. How often do you, and you might do this. I don't do this, is my point. How often do you go on GoFundMe just to fund people's disability?
I don't, because I have better things to do with my time.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do. So I think I'd rather rely on the government to do it than have to
seen people recently
go out of my way to do it.
I've seen people recently that have had a ton of money on there off of things that I was like, wow, this guy just made $250,000 off of making a video.
Isn't it? Yeah, isn't it? But I still think, even in those cases, I still think that is utterly ridiculous because just the idea of having to just beg for money is just so degrading. And it's just like, I mean, people have to do it. If you're homeless, if you suffer an injury, suffer a car accident, you have to do it. If the government is not providing assistance, and oftentimes in reality it isn't, especially in America. I mean, in other countries it's different, but in America, yeah. I mean, you see those like sweet stories of the kid that baked cookies for his mom's surgery or something like that, and the school had a fundraiser. But like, why should the kid even have to do that at all? Shouldn't the mom be able to get health care and have her cancer, treated, or her heart, surgery done? Why does the kid have to literally, sell cookies so that his mother can live? It seems heartless, in my opinion. But
it could be. It isn't the result of free market capitalism, though.
It is the result of free market capitalism.
Definitely not.
Because privatized medical insurance. They can't afford the treatment.
I think as a result, like as we said, that there is no actual free market capitalism country in the world right now, and there never has been, really.
But America is a really laissez-faire, free. As far as in the grand scheme of things, America is one of the most neoliberal free market capitalist countries in the world.
Relative to other countries, but not in terms of where it could be.
But as a result,
or even close to where it could be. With
the medical sector is privatized. And so that's why kids have to bake cookies and stuff and have fundraisers so that their parents can get surgery, because they can't afford the health bills, because it's privatized, because the hospital has to be profitable in order to even stay open.
Yeah.
Because if it's not profitable, it would close and then no one would have access to it.
Yeah, but I don't think this is a result of the separation of economic and state. It's a result of state making a bunch of policies on the economics, and it's causing these prices to rise up.
But actually, in single payer socialized healthcares, the costs often go down. It becomes cheaper, and it becomes a lot more work.
I'm just talking about in the USA.
Yeah. But you are for as much privatization as possible. Leave it to the private sector, right?
Yes, exactly. Without any government doesn't have the power to do anything in that sector.
Or rather, it shouldn't, is your opinion, correct?
No, not that it shouldn't. It doesn't have the power to do anything other than just prevent people from hurting each other, prevent these unsafe spaces or whatever. It's just nothing like that. That's it.
Well, okay. The reason I said shouldn't rather than doesn't, because it currently does have that power, because the government has a monopoly on violence, and therefore it can kind of do whatever it wants. It can enforce. I mean, people will protest as they are now because they disagree, but the government has access to the police and the military. If they want to enforce a law, especially nowadays with Trump, they will do it. They will bring out the Homeland Security and they will enforce that law, which you and I both agree is unethical. But it's not a they do not have the power. They do not ethically have the responsibility. They should not have the power to do that. But like it or not, they do at the time. That's what I was saying.
Wait, so because Ayn Rand, she talks about this too, about the monopoly of force. They have the monopoly of force.
They do.
And that's a good thing, though, because if you left that up to the private sector, then you're going to get into these different like mafia and other types.
You're absolutely right. That's what happens in Mexico.
Right.
Yeah, that's what happens in Mexico. Yeah.
It's a necessary evil in a sense.
However, we also actually don't have that in the military, though, because we do have private military corporations that the U.S. government and army hires out in the Middle East, and they are often they do a lot worse of a job than the military does. Because they're not as regulated. They're under the thumb. I mean, the government deploys them and tells them what to do, but they take orders from their boss, not from the government. If they refuse, they can just end the contract if they wanted to. If they didn't like it, and there's a lot of, and they don't receive a lot of coverage either, because the government's kind of likes to sweep that under the rug. And they often use paramilitary organizations in cases where they don't want a lot of press on the U.S. military too. They want to keep things secret, so they have a private contract with a private military corporation, and then they all go out and do a mission. And then if it goes wrong, even if it goes right or if it goes horribly wrong, then the government is not strictly responsible. But you would kind of disagree with that, or you would say that Ayn Rand would, because she agrees with the monopoly of force. She just doesn't think that they should do anything besides protect people from coercion, which is an interesting wording, because how does one define coercion under free market capitalism? Is pushing one's competition away and buying all the airtime on ads so that potential customers only know about your products, and even if your competitors are there, they don't get market share because people can't see about them? Would that be considered coercion?
Just buying ads? No, of course not.
But buying all the ads,
it's okay. If you want to buy all the ads, let them buy all the ads.
Okay, so you don't think that that's coercion?
No.
Okay, so
if they're legally doing it and they're not, harming people or hurting people by doing it, they're just buying ad space. Yeah.
What if a energy drink company sponsored a school, and so they were in fact hurting kids because they were actually lying to them, telling them that energy was the fucking is healthy, when in fact it's not, because there's no government body to stop that.
What do you mean energy? The drink is healthy when it's not?
I'm coming up with a potential scenario, a hypothetical. So there's this company, Energy or whatever, right? They have an energy drink, and so they want customers, right? So they go out and talk to schools and like places, and they even go to like the FDA, the FDIC, because again, or whatever, the Food and Drug Administration, and they kind of like, I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of like that. If the it's got electrolytes, if a company buys, lies to people with advertising, says in the advertising that it is healthy when it's not, would that be considered coercion?
No, I think as long as it's not poisonous, then you can say that it's healthy.
I mean, it basically is
subjective term. As long as it's not causes some cancer or kills you.
Okay, so what about cigarettes? Cigarettes cause cancer, and they're legal now.
What about them?
I mean, is that not you said as long as it doesn't cause cancer? Cigarettes cause cancer.
Okay, if it causes something that you know is going to hurt the person, then that should be something of the legal part that the government
What
should
is
make sure that
hurt
you do.
somebody? What about obesity? Obesity is harm to people. Sugar, too much sugar is unhealthy.
I know obesity is a result of an unhealthy lifestyle, though. It's not just something that you go out and purchase.
Well, a lot of obesity happens because unhealthy, like non-nutritious food, like McDonald's, is easier to afford than healthy food, and that is a result of the private, of free market capitalism. Is that McDonald's can be cheaper and sell unhealthy cheeseburgers to people for less money than the healthy salads and foods like that. Is that not coercion?
Just selling unhealthy food? No, of course not.
But selling unhealthy food at a price that people can afford and therefore making unhealthy food, because the reason that McDonald's and stuff is unhealthy and cheap is because they put a bunch of preservatives and junk in it that's cheaper than actual meat and healthy nutritious food. So, poor people will have worse diets because that's all they can afford. And that sounds like harm to me anyway. I think nutrition should be a human right. I think you should be able to have access to healthy food and unhealthy food if you want, but you shouldn't only have access to McDonald's if you're on, and people do have that. There are poor people out there. Well, thankfully, I hope that you and I are not one of those people, but there are people out there who only have access to unhealthy food and cereals and stuff because it's cheap, but it's not nutritious and it makes them unhealthy, and it actually makes them worse productive workers because they're unhealthy.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with not anything wrong with it. I mean, each person has to choose their own lifestyle and what they do.
Okay, but okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm sorry. I really have. Did you actually have more to say? I apologize.
No,
okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay. What is the point of all these choices of cereals that these kids can't afford? What is the point of that? Like, sure, you can buy all kinds of cereal, you can buy all kinds of popcorn, all kinds of cheeseburgers, but you can't afford the turkey that's good for you. You can't afford the salad. You have Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's, but no one has access to, like, I don't know, something healthy to eat. Or they do, but it's expensive. Subway is not super healthy, but they're generally more expensive.
And what is the reason why? What are the reasons why it's more expensive, both in the inner city and then both in like the suburbs and other places? Why?
Because healthy food is more expensive and harder to procure than unhealthy junk food.
But why?
Because sugar is easy to make, it tastes good, and you can put it in anything. Preservatives are cheap for whatever reason. I don't know because instead of slaughtering a cow, you can make synthetic meat with like 10% beef and just put the rest of the synthetic in because it's cheaper. I don't know. The free market figured it out. For some reason, unhealthy food is cheaper.
I don't think we disagree about the harmful effects that these things happen, but I don't think this is the result of an actual true free market where we have the government preventing these dangerous things from happening. I think
the government certainly isn't preventing it now.
I know this is the outcome. This isn't the actual cause, though. These are the symptoms that you're getting at. We just apparently you and me have different solutions to go about fixing.
Yes, we do.
But I think you're attributing a lot of it towards just free market capitalism when there's a lot of policies, and this is being exposed now too, which I'm.
Well, okay. Let me before you finish. I am not attributing it strictly to free market capitalism. Free market capitalism is a problem. I am restricting it. I am blaming capitalism in general. Any form of capitalism, regulated or unregulated, will have these problems, and fundamentally in it. And I find those problems to be unethical and should be solved. Okay. Because the point is profit. The point is not wealth, is not social well-being. The goal of capitalism is profit. If it's cheaper to sell unhealthy junk food, then you're going to sell unhealthy junk food. Whereas if we forced people to make healthy food and forced innovation into healthy food industries, then we would do that as long as profit wasn't the goal. Because you would have to make an investment initially and it wouldn't be profitable for a while. Eventually it might be. But for now, it's much cheaper to just put sawdust in your fucking hamburgers and then sell them to people,
Right, but that would be outlawed in free market capitalism as well.
How so?
Doing these dangerous things to food. This is
okay,
the
but right now,
to protect people from hurting each other, prevent these companies from hurting people.
Yeah, but as you say, we are not under free market capitalism now, and it happens.
Exactly. We're not under it.
Yeah, so it would only get worse if we were, because there'd be less regulations.
I don't think that makes sense to go from here to there. We don't have it. We've never had it.
You're right. We've never strictly had it, but we've had close. But here's the thing: the whole meatpacking industry. I don't know if you've heard about this. There was a book. I forget what it's called, but that's why we have labels of ingredients on our cans now, because regulation came in and said you had to do that because people were putting things like sawdust and unhealthy, like completely disgusting putrid meat in their food, and it was poisoning the population.
Right. That is the role of government.
Yes.
To prevent that from happening.
But that was a result of free market capitalism.
No. Not from my definition. From your definition, you can continue to say that.
Okay. No. That was a result of capitalism.
No.
Yes.
It's a result of not having the right government regulations and laws. It's not capitalism.
Yeah. But the reason you need those regulations and laws is because capitalism, unrestrained, will find the cheapest way of making profit, which in that case could be poisoning people.
Right. As that's the purpose of government. It's to prevent from these unethical and wrong things that cause harm, these poison, the coercion, this whole thing. That is the function of the first thing I said, to prevent from someone coming and hurting someone else. That is a form of hurting someone else. It's put in place to prevent these things. That's the structure, and then everything else comes out of that. You can't break this structure, though. All the things that you're saying are breaking this original structure, and that's why I have a problem with it, because it's not the direct result of my definition of laissez-faire.
So how would your system solve public nutrition?
Almost everything gets solved when you get out of the way of it, when you have government officials get out of the way of it. The actual natural order of life, the cycle of life in nature. Even I think Milton Friedman used this example when he took someone who's like, come on, I'm going to illustrate this to you. They went to like a skate park, or not a skate park, ice rink in New York City. And they noticed how like, oh, look, the slower speed people, they go to the inside like this. The faster ones, they go to the outside like this. And they're like, see, that would be the free market. This is how it works. And like, now we're going to have an official come in, and this will be the government stepping in and regulating. And the government guy, he starts pointing the person there, and just complete chaos ensues. People start hitting each other. It doesn't work anymore. The natural order, the laws of nature basically have been transgressed in this case. The same thing happens when you extrapolate that example to these different situations. The same thing always happens when the government steps in. It does a worse job than it by itself.
What if someone who is slow but doesn't want to admit that they're slow moves to the outside, and they actually end up slowing down the whole system because people don't want to hit them, and actually some people might even run into them, but they decide, no, there's no one forcing me to go. We naturally group out of that, but you know what? No, I don't want you to tell me how fast I am. I am as fast as I want to go, so I'm going to move out of the slow lane and move into the fast lane because, again, there's no lanes at all because there's no government deciding the lanes.
So that person would probably get hit.
Yeah, and they would also hit other people too. People would run into them.
So they'd be willingly causing harm to themselves
and others.
Right. So they'd be causing harm to themselves.
But there would be no government to step in.
But they'd also be causing harm to other people if they're doing that. So how
would you solve that without the government?
That would be the purpose of government. It is one of those three things.
So what would the government
hurting other people?
What would the government do in that case?
If this person's hurting other people by their actions,
should they be moved into the slow lane? Should the government?
Or maybe they shouldn't be on there at all if they can't even actually stay the course.
Okay, so the government would come in and remove them from harm.
That doesn't mean that other people wouldn't speak to this person and be like, "Hey,
you're right.
This isn't. You shouldn't be skating here because you're hurting people now." But
yeah, but fuck you. I can skate where I want. God damn it.
Sure.
Yeah. So I would say the government would just come in and establish a slow lane and a fast lane and say, look, I'm sorry, I don't care that you want to be fast. You have to go in the slow lane until you can actually go fast.
Right. That's one solution.
But then they can still ice. That's fair. That's fine. I'm trying to think of the next topic. I think we've kind of exhausted that unless you have any more questions or anything. Oh wait, you know what? Let me finally say. So, okay. So let's go back to the food example. What do you think causes unhealthy food?
What do I think causes unhealthy food? Government.
Okay. You think it's the government. All right. And in fact, you're not entirely wrong because they actually do subsidize the meat industry and the sugar industry, which we both agree is wrong. However, it seems that okay, so you're saying that without the government, McDonald's would suddenly have healthy food?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying that more
Would
options
healthy
would be
food become
available.
cheaper?
Yes, more cheaper options would become available because the government finally moves out of the way and the private sector can come in and actually fulfill these things that obviously the government doesn't care to or can't do.
Who's going to fill the healthy food market if all the money is in the unhealthy food? Because people don't, I mean, salads are good. We should have access to salads, but I don't want to eat a salad all the time. You know, I'm going to spend my money on unhealthy food if I have the opportunity.
Right, and that's your right as an individual.
Should the government not save us from ourselves and make sure that healthy food is at least an option?
They should. Okay, so they should. The government shouldn't do anything. Again, I don't think I'm changing my stance on any of these points.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just clarifying. That's all I'm asking. Yeah. And okay, so you don't think that unhealthy food and and difficult access to healthy food would not fall under the definition of causing harm?
As long as it's not something that causes some kind of immediate death to you, some kind of like cancer, some kind of
cancer is not an immediate death.
Right. So
cancer is actually a slow death.
I know if it's proven, which is what you need to have evidence. If it's proven that it does, then that would be when the government steps in and has to shut whatever that is that you're doing down.
Okay, so would you say that the government should probably outlaw cigarettes then? Because they do cause cancer.
No. I'm actually open to whatever you want to do with your body. You go and do it. I can't actually stop you. As long as you're not hurting someone else, you should be able to smoke cigarettes. You should be able to do meth. You should be able to do whatever you want. You should be able to commit suicide if you want.
Agreed. I actually, you and I agree with that a lot. We agree a lot on that. However, I think that causing harm and coercion is a little bit still too fuzzy, because I could see a perfectly logical argument that says that junk food and putting sawdust in your hamburgers is a poison and causing harm. And if you use cancer as a specific example, which you have, cigarettes should then be outlawed if the government is specifically designed to prevent people from causing cancer to the population.
No, as long as it's a warning, like, hey, if you smoke this, you can get cancer. If you eat this, you could die.
Right. Okay, so what if they slap a warning on the cheeseburger that says, okay, this could kill you, it's not healthy, but you're like, okay, but I can't afford healthy food anyway. So the label doesn't really change anything.
Well, the label at least gives awareness. I don't think it should say it should kill you. Maybe it will say, unless it actually does kill you, but it should say, hey, this could cause obesity, which in turn could cause you to die.
But what good does that do to those who can't afford the healthy food anyway?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. This is like a hypothetical. This is a real scenario, but this isn't where it would be if we were to roll back the actual role of government. More options would be available when we just leave it up to the private sector. That's kind of the thing I'm getting at. Like,
but how is that what I'm asking?
What do you mean?
So like you asked me about A to Z. What would be your steps, and how would that create a more sustainable and prosperous population?
I don't know. I haven't really thought through all of it, and it's going from Z to A, because we don't have the free market again, and the thing you get back to, how you get back to a free market, is taking away the different regulations and restrictions and taxes and all that other stuff. What
specific regulations would you like to see removed? Do you have any in mind?
Well, everything that isn't one of the three things that I mentioned. Okay,
but again,
school, that's another one.
You would get rid of that, or you would
leave it up to the private sector?
Okay. So you don't think there should be at all any public school whatsoever?
I don't know. In this scenario, maybe like if there was a cheaper public school scenario that other people couldn't afford the different private sectors, because it would have to happen in time. It would be like, hey, we have a private sector now, so more schools, it would start to open up. And as the supply of them got more, the demand would go down, or the price would go down, and that's what I'm saying. It's like a process to get there. But government schools, a monopoly on government schools, on education, is a terrible idea. To just have the government be the final say of everything that you learn and do. I agree. It's terrible.
I think I actually have videos on what I would do about school. We disagree. so to speak, to put it lightly. I could say really quickly, I think that school would be non-compulsory, but I think that schools would be well-funded. I think that schools should be free and well-funded. But I do think that school should be compulsory until about 12, and then you could kind of choose whether you wanted to go to school. I think that would provide more freedom than just privatizing schools and making it only up to someone who has money. Whereas a person who has no money could still go to school anytime they wanted to under my system.
Well, I don't think that doesn't mean that, because part of taxes that you pay goes towards public school. If you're not paying that portion of public school taxes anymore, you have money to spend for the school of your choice, and not just what's given to you because you live in this certain area and you have no other choice because of that.
Okay, that's true. But if we stopped doing that, I think that school attendance would definitely go down if all schools were paid. Because people, even if they were receiving the taxes that they were paying in schools back, the schools aren't guaranteed to be those prices, because generally socialization actually brings prices down better than free market capitalism does. But even so, they still would probably spend that money on food and things like that. I don't know, or entertainment. I mean, they might, or send their kid to the mines. I mean, why even send them to school at all at that point? Just get more money for the house, for the family. Put them off to work.
Right. Well, I just don't trust, and I guess we have similar ideas but very different. But I don't trust the government to be able to.
We are both anarchists almost.
Yeah, I don't trust the government to do any of these things outside of the three things that I outlined. Okay, because they don't have an incentive to actually do these in a good way.
I agree, but I just think that we have different definitions of those things. For instance, harm and coercion is the main one. I think protecting the country from a foreign invader, we are pretty clear on. And judiciary things we might have disagreements on, but I don't know where to start with that. But I think we do agree that while the government should prevent harm and coercion, I think we have different definitions of harm and coercion. Would you agree?
Probably.
Yeah. Because I would say that putting sawdust in cheeseburgers and cigarettes is causing harm. I wouldn't necessarily make cigarettes outlawed, but I would definitely change things. I would definitely change nutritional standards. That I would 100% do.
So wait, what about for the cigarettes? You would outlaw cigarettes? Is that what you're saying?
No, I would legalize all drugs. But however, I do think that they should be regulated.
What do you mean?
I don't think that you should be able. I think if you have cigarettes and they're tobacco cigarettes, you should have to put tobacco in them. Like, most people do that, but like the example with the sawdust burgers, if you say you have a beef patty, it better be made of beef, not 10% beef and 90% other shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You should be still. You should have the. I think you should have the. By law, you should have to put what's actually in it, of course. And then if you're lying, that'd be a part where the government steps in and like, hey, this is causing harm. And they have
we do agree on that.
Right. They have evidence, and then you have to deal with the consequences with the judiciary system. So
I also think that even if I think that the solution isn't just if you're putting sawdust in the burgers, say that you're putting sawdust in the burgers. I think that A, it should be illegal to do that, and B, you should. I mean, I'm just using that as an example. I don't think people really put sawdust in their beef, but you know what I mean. It could even be soy, and if they're calling it beef, you're right. But I don't think that. That people should have only access to unhealthy food, regardless of if it's labeled or not. I think everyone should have access to all levels of nutrition. From completely junk food to to like raw kale, the full spectrum should be available to everybody.
I agree.
Okay, but under your system, they would have to buy it, and under my system, it would be made sure whether they could afford it or not, they would be guaranteed food.
Okay, wait. So where does that money come from then?
Well, obviously, because most of the money, in going back to enabling, enacting my plans, most of the money would come out of the military. One of the three tenets of government is a military, a defensive military, not necessarily offensive military, but a defensive military, which I believe could be greatly scaled back. I mean, right now we have jets being built in the desert in the Midwest that aren't being used because the military has a contract with companies that build jets. So they just build these jets because of military contracts that are never even used. So I think that is a total waste of money. However, under capitalism, they keep that there because if the contract ended, those people would be out of the job, and they don't necessarily, and they have the contract to keep those people working. Under my system, those people would be out of the job, but they would still have food, shelter, education, healthcare, and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've covered economics pretty good. Do you have any interesting philosophical ideas you'd like to discuss, unrelated directly to economics?
Other than objectivism is the only moral philosophy and capitalism is the only moral government philosophy.
Well, I mean, I guess we disagree. We will have to agree to disagree on that. As an anarchist, I think that capitalism is a unjustifiable hierarchy, and people and people should. And I believe as much freedom as possible. I believe in democracy, personal choice, personal freedom, and equality of opportunity. A misconception is that a lot of leftists believe in equality of outcome. You may have heard that, which is not true. No, I believe in equality of opportunity. I think instead of everyone should end at the same finish line, I think everybody should have the same starting line. So you can finish anywhere you want, or anywhere the meritocracy places you, based on your own success and personal drive. I think everybody should have the same opportunity to education, the same opportunity to the same basic opportunity to housing, education, food, nutrition, clothing, and a little bit of entertainment. But the rest is up to you because it's up to you. But I also think that there should be a lot more opportunity.
Which is your ideal country in the world right now?
Right now, the most ideal country in the world right now, that is very few. Probably Rojava or Sharon, Mexico, which I'm not sure you've probably not heard of because they're very small anarchist communes that Rojava in the Middle East. Sharon is actually interesting in Mexico because they actually fought off the cartels. The cartels were very heavy in their environment, and they actually banded together and fucking fought them off. They got guns, they fucking killed them, and now they are an anarchist society. And they have sortition methods for police. People take turns. And a lot of things are voted.
Can you move there? They let you in?
Probably, yeah. But I do think that right now actually that's not a bad idea. My plans are to move in with my girlfriend into a mobile home and an RV and
get going. You should go to Mexico, dude.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Get an RV with my girlfriend and I, and we actually are planning on going to South America to work on renewable energy syndicates. Ultimately, anyway, syndicalism is like is market socialism, anarcho-syndicalism. Basically, a syndicate is a socialized work environment, and so we would go down. Our plan would be to go to South America and create renewable energy worker-owned cooperatives for things like solar, but mostly nuclear. Honestly, nuclear is the way to go. Solar, wind's fine. Nuclear, we just need nuclear. Now that we have thorium, especially, we have no excuse to not use nuclear. I mean, sure, Chernobyl happened in the 70s, and obviously there was the Fukushima event, but that was a uranium facility, not a thorium one. Thorium is much safer. The only reason that we have uranium, I mean, we've known about thorium since the beginning, but the reason that we have uranium nuclear power plants is because it's weaponizable, and we discovered it around the, World War II and everything, and so we created the atom bomb, and so we were investing in uranium. But now that power is the only option, I mean, honestly, it also solves the nuclear deal too in Iran, because if you give them thorium power plants, they can't make bombs out of thorium. It doesn't work that way. You need plutonium and thorium's way more plentiful, way more safe, and it's actually, honestly, it's easier to create. You have to refine uranium in order for it to work. Again, the only reason we have uranium power plants at all is because of the atom bombs, and we were just studying uranium. Now that thorium is a thing, honestly, nuclear energy should be the way to go, and it would honestly take over gasoline pretty soon. Especially now that gasoline is mostly done with as well. Now that the fires and everything. I mean, America has a lot of reserves of oil, so we'll be fine. And of course, the oil monopolies and oligarchies are going to keep it as long as possible because it makes money for them. But renewable energy is not profitable, so it's not really the free market has trouble doing it because you have to make it profitable. But it's free energy, that's why solar panels have gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. But solar energy is free because it comes with the sun. So it's really, I mean, once you set up the power plants or the panels, then your money's made and you're done. And whereas with oil, you're constantly selling oil to people to burn. Yeah. So that's our plan. Hopefully we'll be able to do that because the world is kind of on a ticking time bomb, in my opinion. And it's not just opinion.
So what do you think is going to happen in the next, the election, and then 6 months from now, 12 months from now?
I'm hoping that Trump is voted out of office. Are you a Trump supporter or no?
Over Biden, yes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Biden either. I think that he is, honestly, I think he's probably maybe better than Hillary, but honestly, he's not a solution either. Biden and Hillary are basically the same in my opinion, but I think Donald Trump needs to be removed. I mean, he's killed untold thousands because of not, taking proper precautions, in my opinion, on the COVID virus. But obviously, you disagree with regulations on that anyway, governmental ones anyway. Even though technically preventing people from harm would be preventing the outbreak of a virus, when one could argue. But we don't need to if you don't want to.
Well, I just like individual having the freedom to choose, and the government can't coerce someone to do something, force them to do something or not do something.
I think my solution to COVID would have been probably a month or two long quarantine where people's incomes were sustained, and food delivery was booming as it was, and then after that we'd probably be done because the virus would be gone by that point. But since that's not the case, masks are definitely helpful. And then obviously, of course, in my thing, the virus wouldn't be totally done. Masks would be enforced in public areas along with social distancing rules. But obviously in your own home, you don't have to wear a mask.
That's this is the example. Well, I watched a Milton Friedman video recently, but he was talking about people having the freedom to choose whatever they want. That was his book, Free to Choose. But saying that, hey, we're doing this for you because it's for your own good, that we're going to make you wear a seatbelt. And if you don't, then, we're going to fine you. And the same thing with drugs, like, hey, we're doing it for your own good that you can't do this. This is one of the cases. When I heard him say that, I kind of heard it before, but when I heard him say that, then I was like, okay, that can definitely be applied to the COVID situation, which I didn't understand why we shut down, my opinion, from the start. I saw the initial numbers coming out. It might have been China or Italy, whatever it was.
Italy was pretty bad too, yeah.
But it was just the initial numbers that I was like, okay, I compared it to the flu, and I was like, why is there even any hype over this? What's happening?
I know. I thought it was like Ebola too at the beginning. I was like, it's just the next fucking swine flu or whatever. But it turned out to be way worse than that.
Well, yeah. So that's what I'm getting at is that I was like, it looks the same basically as the.
It looked the same, but it's not.
The death rate, it looked basically the same as the flu.
At first, yeah.
Let me just finish. Yeah.
Okay.
I was saying it looked basically the same as the flu, and I was like, why would we do anything different? Why would we shut down? That's stupid. And then I saw all the countries close down like dominoes. So I was like, something's going on here. Yeah. And then the USA did. I was like, it would never close down. And then boom, it closed down. And then that was kind of when, because previous to 6 months ago, I haven't really spent any time actually learning politics or economics or anything like this. I'm more focused on spiritual and personal growth.
We should get into that. But keep going.
But that's when I started looking and then discovering stuff and then learning about governments and politics and but I think it is more of I don't even know if it's been proven that it isolated, that it exists yet. So that's one thing to even look at, whether it's been proven that it's isolated, it exists. The second one was China creating it as like a bio warfare, of course.
Yeah, right. Conspiracy theories. I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest, but I don't think that's true.
I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest, either, because that is part of they wrote their own communist manifesto. It's called Unrestricted Warfare, and it talks about having biological warfare. as a way to hurt people.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, China and Russia really messed up communism. I mean, the Nazis said they were socialists too, and they were not. But anyway, so yeah, I think ultimately, I actually take back what I said about the forced closure. I think that it would be under my ideal system. It would be democratically decided. Like we would study the virus, see how it's doing with the other countries, and then we would decide based on it, based on data, not based on pride and country, saving face and whatnot. Anyway, so let's move on to spirituality.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
What? How do you consider? What do you consider spirituality to be?
What do I consider spirituality to be? A connection to, I don't know, higher level energy, emotions, vibrations, a disconnection from the mind created emotions and patterns and sense of identity and all this. It's like it's a ascension above that. You can think about like yourselves, you can think about lower, middle, and upper self or higher self, but lower self would be more of your petty wants and needs, your biological drives and impulses.
Survival instinct.
How do I look?
Ego.
Middle self is maybe more of the day-to-day concerns and things that you're doing. And then higher self is like your higher like vision and purpose with your future, and even disconnecting completely from a sense of body or a sense of identity to your body and stuff. So something like that.
Yeah, my spirituality is basically just that it's as simple as you can't exist within the universe without also being the entire thing. You can't be in the universe without also just being the whole universe. Okay. We are the universe. We are made of atoms. We're made of stardust. We're all the same thing. The Big Bang happened. Stars, like gas existed. It was all hydrogen, and then eventually it condensed into stars, and those stars forged heavier elements like iron and such in their cores, and then they exploded and died, and then planets started to become formed, and then eventually the Earth became formed, and from star stuff, and we around the sun. And then, atoms formed and life happened. Basically, in order for life to exist, you have to create a artificial separation between inside and out. So basically a skin or a membrane. And that's where single-celled organisms came from. And then they evolved into plants and whatnot, and they could replicate themselves. And then eventually humans came along. And then we had a second level, as you're saying, like a middle cell or whatever. Your ego is the same idea. It's an artificial illusion of separation. Your ego is your personality. It's the part of you that's behind your eyes and controls your body. And so this ego is something that was developed through natural selection and evolution to keep your body alive. Because, I'm sure you've done psychedelics, correct? Yeah, so you felt what it feels like to sort of remember what it's like to be, before we were born and after we die, right? You kind of have that.
It's a feeling, yeah.
The ego, from my understanding, is just a filter of that feeling so that your body could be alive. Because if we were tripping all the time, dude, we would not care about our bodies. Our bodies would just die. We'd have no reason to live because we'd be, just everything all the time. So our egos were created to keep our bodies alive, and they develop in humanity with our prefrontal cortex personalities, and therefore that infinitely increases our possible experiences that one could live through life. And I think that we are basically the sensory organs of the universe. The higher self, in my opinion, is the entire universe. And our bodies are created so that our minds can pilot them and experience joy and life and everything like that. But it has to develop naturally until now, in which case artificiality has now become part of. We've begun to choose our own evolution rather than just leave it up to nature. We, as humans, can intentionally use our consciousness to create things. Basically, in my opinion, free will is just consciously utilizing potential energy. If I knew that I was going to be thirsty during this podcast, so I ahead of time grabbed a glass of water. I harnessed the potential energy of grabbing the glass, using the opportunity of the water in my sink, and then I put it there for the opportunity, for the potential for when I might need it. And here it is.
What's your astrology sign?
Scorpio.
Huh.
How about you?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Tell me about that. I don't know much about astrology. I'm interested in it, but there's a lot of pseudoscience out there, and I don't quite trust astrology very much. I do
A Scorpio would
100%
say
believe.
that.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I do believe it's real, but I think that there's a lot of wishy-washy woo-woo out there that it's not necessarily useful right now, and that it will be useful because again, I believe that we are the entire universe. I believe that we are the same thing, the same universal consciousness. So how could the positions of the universe not influence our lives and have show us patterns and things like that? And plus, I mean, I'm sure you've heard all about the Anunnaki and everything that came here that perhaps created humanity to mine gold for their to put in their atmosphere or something like that. I'm not sure if you've heard any of that, but
I've heard that name. I haven't like gone into that thing.
It's very interesting. Have you heard of the YouTube channel Spirit Science?
Yeah, I think so.
They're amazing. I highly recommend them. I've been trying to get in contact with them. They follow me on Twitter, but and I follow them, but they don't respond to my tweets. I tweeted at them once, and they answered a question, and then they followed me, and then I've been trying to get in contact with them ever since, and they just they just ignore me. So fuck it, whatever. Actually, if you're interested, I actually have YouTube videos on spirituality on my YouTube channel. If you'd like to watch a quick 5-minute one.
On what?
Are you familiar with the game Overwatch?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind. There's a character. Oh, actually, I'll show you the video anyway.
Yeah. Let me use the bathroom. You can.
By all means. Yes, it's perfect. See you in a minute. All right, so it looks like he is in the restroom. So we're gonna bring up my thing. Hello, viewers. If anyone has any questions or chat, I saw a comment that said, as a long time ago by Dark Sage, as a lifelong Democrat, Biden is the worst candidate that I've seen the party ever run, worse than Dukakis and McGovern. This guy has flip-flopped on so many issues in his life, and his mental state is absolutely deteriorated. I completely agree. So much it is sad. I am not defending all the things Trump has said that were offensive and could have been worded better, but Biden is a terrible candidate. I expect Trump to win the landslide. I agree with everything you've said there, Dark Sage 99117, except for the last line. I believe that Biden actually has an excellent chance of winning. Because Trump is so incredibly evil, and I mean, it's not going to be like it's been, where he was just a bumbling idiot. I think that he's going to start from the beginning of how he is now. So I think that I'm quite worried about that potentiality. I actually hold on, need to check my. Zenyatta, fictional character. Takartha Zenyatta is a fictional character from the game Overwatch. He is a robot built. Hey, I'm sorry, I was on mute and I did not realize it. Anyway, I am no longer on mute. Could you hear the YouTube video?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Built to resemble a human being, an android or Omnic.
Here, I'm gonna actually put it on 1.25 speed because it's yeah. All right. So this is the philosophy of a fictional character, but I also agree with him.
Okay.
But not human. He is specifically made to emulate the monks of East Asian Buddhist philosophies. There is not much lore on Zenyatta's origins or the Shambhali order of which he is a part, but one thing is clear: his philosophy.
True self is without form.
Zenyatta is a robot with a soul. He is a self-aware artificial intelligence that has a connection to the earth and cosmos that many of us, even humans, lack. Zenyatta realizes that regardless of what we are made of, we all come from the same thing, the universe. He understands that one cannot exist within the universe without also being the universe itself. True self is without form. The soul, consciousness, life, existence, all is immaterial. No matter what we are made of, no matter where we come from, no matter what we believe, we are all part of, and therefore are, the universe. Zenyatta, by his nature of being a machine, has a creator. Whether that creator is human or another machine, it cannot be disputed that he was designed and created with intention. An argument could be made that he did not occur naturally through processes like evolution. Or did he? You may have heard the phrase from physicists, "We are stardust." And this is true. In the early young universe, shortly after inflation, all that existed after.
If you want me to pause it or anything or comment, just let me know. After quantum
No,
mechanics
go ahead.
was
gas, which condensed into stars, which fused heavier elements before exploding and dying, starting the process over and over again until the universe cooled and the dust from dead stars condensed and fused into new stars and even planets around those stars. And from those planets, at least one anyway, life emerged. And that life evolved from a single-celled to a multi-celled to plants to animals and to eventually humans. And humans, like all nature, both create and destroy. Under this view, there is no such thing as unnatural. Because humans are a part of nature, what they do is natural. And even if it is not in harmony with the rest of the ecosystem, it cannot be considered in any way unnatural. Even though, when throwing plastic into the ocean, it causes terrible side effects, it is still natural human behavior. If humanity occurred naturally, which it did, whatever we do, even if it is to destroy the planet we developed on, is natural, because we come from nature. Under this view, the word artificial simply means that humans had a hand in its creation. But artificiality is no less natural than the sun shining through the trees, than the wind blowing through the forest, than the ants creating an anthill. It simply means that humans were involved in its process. And this is the view that Zenyatta takes. Does he exist? Yes. So, therefore, he must be a product of nature. So what that he was made intentionally? So what that he was made in a factory or assembly line? Is a baby that is planned any less natural than one that was unplanned? Is a baby born in a hospital less natural than one born at home? Delivered via cesarean or vaginally, is a child not a child? Is it therefore any more unnatural for humans to shape their environment to suit their wants and needs than it is for birds and beavers who do the same with nests and dams? Is a house really anything more than a complicated human nest? However you may or may not feel about these questions, it is clear how Zenyatta feels. There is no difference between the natural and the artificial. They are one and the same. True self is without form does not mean that the true self lacks form or is non-existent. Quite the opposite, in fact. For as Zenyatta and the Shambhali order know, true self has no form because true self is all form. Life, death, natural, artificial, on earth, or in space, it does not matter. For the universe is all, and all is one. True self is not one's body or how one identifies, or even one's own egoic sense of self. It includes those things, but it is much, much more, because true self is reality itself.
True self is without form.
And that's it.
Nice. Very
if
cool,
you-
man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Do you have any so that's basically how I feel. Do you have any videos you want to share that we can
No.
discuss? Okay.
No.
That's fine. Then I will close the tab. Yeah, so that's basically how I feel about spirituality. I agree with Zenyatta. Everything is everything, and there is no difference, even if we feel like there is, and that actually informs that spirituality is where I get my economics from, because the fact that everything that we are everything, and we are made of atoms, and when we die we become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass, and circle of life, and all that. I think that capitalism is disharmonious sort of break in that thing, and it basically divides us rather than brings us together. And in spirituality, from my view, duality is death, which I think that you might agree on. Unity is the way to go. Duality can exist within unity, which is where sacred geometry comes in, which is where those images and those shapes came from, the squares and the circles and the Metatron. Are you familiar with sacred geometry?
I've heard it. I've never studied it.
It's very interesting. Basically, I can show you. Hold on, share screen, Chrome tab. Yeah. All right. So let's see, sacred. I can explain it to you right now, but I'll keep it light though, because again, we aren't. This isn't a video about it. I'll just make a video about it eventually. But basically, let's see. So let's see. All right, the flower of life. Flower of life steps. So basically, this is the flower of life. I'm sure you've seen it before.
Yeah.
Yes. So it starts out with a circle of indeterminate size, and then it creates a copy. And this is actually the process that your body goes through, and it continues this process until it reaches the seed of life, and then it keeps going. And this ancient symbol is actually depicting the womb. This is
What do you mean?
this is conception. When you are born, you're an egg and a sperm, and you combine, and then the cells divide, and they keep dividing, and then eventually they reach this, and the first organ that is created is the heart. And the heart, and from the heart, your body sort of comes out like a torus. I'm sure you may have heard, not Taurus, the astrological sign, toroid, the shape, toroidal field, which is the shape of magnetic fields. But let's see if this can give you a quick. Basically, it's this shape. It's like a donut shape. Where is the one in particular that I am looking for, though? Let's see. But yeah, basically, it's a magnetic field. And also it occurs around all things. Here's a good, this is not the picture I'm looking for, but let's see. I'm going to type in Taurus. Oh, I spelled Taurus wrong. No wonder. Taurus nature. Yes. So this is, it occurs in apples and oranges. Like it's the shapes that stars take. You've heard of the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence is basically, the Fibonacci spiral is basically a torus looking at it from the top. Like if you were to look at this shape from the top down, not from the side, it would look very much like this is an example. See, it's like a slice, a 2D slice of the 3D torus.
Okay.
However, this is from the side, but let's see.
So what is the significance of this?
Basically, that is the shape of the universe, from what I understand, because fractals always come around this shape, and it's the shape of breath, the shape of magnetism, and magnetic fields are actually how we think. Our brain, uses electricity. Literally, you cannot move electricity. Whenever electrons move in a wire, it creates a magnetic field. That's how you create electromagnetism. Is you just have a magnet that you run electricity through, and it creates a magnetic field, and it creates a magnet with a north and south pole. The Earth has a magnetic field. The sun. Hold on. Let's see. Sun. Taurus. Let's see. It may not work. Yeah. No, this is not. Let's see. Sun. Let's see. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, you see how this is the sunspots have those like magnetic like arches that come out of the sun. That's a result of torus and magnetic fields. Do you see these like spirals that come out? Those are the sides of toruses basically. Let's see. Okay. Oh, duh. Sun magnetic field. Duh. Magnetic field. Yeah, see, this is what it looks like. It's all just a bunch of stacked toruses together, and then and it kind of forms this shape overall.
Okay.
So they're everywhere. Basically, toruses are the shape of everything. And that lends evidence to the fact that we are in fact everything. But again, honestly, even without all that, you really can't disagree with, you cannot be a part of the universe without also being the universe, right?
Yeah.
Unless you subscribe to the belief that we are created by a god. In which case, if you are a traditional sort of Abrahamic faith, then one might say that we are not made of the same thing. However, actually, even they can't disagree, because God made us from the dirt. He made Adam from dust to dust, from dust we came and from dust we will rise. So even if you are a Christian or a Muslim or something like that, you still cannot deny that you cannot be a part of the universe without also being the universe, even if you believe that God is separate.
Yeah.
I believe that the torus is also the shape of consciousness. Our brains kind of look like this. This is how we think. And that's actually, there's also studies. I could go on YouTube and look up magnetic fields on the brain. Let's see, magnets, human brain. So yes, I'm actually much more interested in healing the blah blah blah, but like actual studies. Here's one. It's on so this guy shoots this thing and it makes people. This guy it has a magnet. It's an electromagnet. It's turned off right now, and then when he turns it on, watch what happens to the guy's speech.
I can't hear him.
You can't hear it? Oh, I forgot to. I have to. Hold on. I have to share my screen, but with audio. I forgot to turn the audio on. I apologize. Chrome tab. Let's see. Okay, I will start it over. So it starts over. I apologize.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
It's off now.
Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
See, he turns it on.
Horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
That noise is not it hitting his head. It just makes that noise so you know when the magnetic field is going on, and the magnetic field is disrupting his speech.
Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
Yeah. So magnetic fields are intimately entwined with how we think and feel.
Right.
Also, interestingly, since we're on the topic, emotions, going back to that, emotions. So basically your brain, as we have established, is governed by magnetic fields. So when you think, it creates a magnetic field. Your heart also has a magnetic field around it. Let's see. Heart mag. I think it's actually also, I think that's how pacemakers work, is magnets, but I'm not entirely sure. Magnetic field.
How old are you, Phil?
I'm 25. How old are you, Ben?
27.
27? Nice. We're very close in age. And we have, I see us, I think we have a lot in common. But yeah, it's called, there's a study of things called neurocardiology. I don't know how to spell it, but basically neuro meaning brain, cardiology meaning heart. There is actually, okay, so your brain, right, is where you think, obviously, right? Your nervous system is, let's see, nervous system. So your nervous system is your brain, how your brain connects with the rest of your body throughout your spine. Oh, this is a perfect Gruen, because this leads right into what my example is. But basically, it's basically a set of nerves that goes down, starts in your brain and goes throughout your body, and it's how you move around. It's mainly in your spine. But what this picture, this medical diagram is explaining, is that these parts go to these things, but each of these organs actually have their own miniature brain. The biggest clump of neurons is your brain. The second biggest is in your heart, and the rest sort of radiate outwards, and the smaller and smaller mini brains. And they are the reason, those are actually the chakras. They are the reason that if you get if somebody gets not decapitated, but breaks their back, I forget what the word is, paralyzed, their organs still work. Somebody paralyzed from the neck down they have to have food injected in them, but their stomach still works and their heart still pumps because they have their own mini involuntary nervous system brains. But because they are the same thing as your actual brain, you actually think sometimes not using your brain, but using your heart and your stomach, and less so the rest of your body. And that's why if you feel heartbreak, you feel it in your chest. And that's where the term going with your gut comes from, because you actually have a mini gut brain. There's tons of studies on it. I don't know I think it might be called neurostomach or something. I don't know. But basically your gut brain is a big piece of study right now, because people were doing studies about whether people were full or not, and what your nutrition actually affects your cognitive ability. And they found that evidence that it does. In fact, if people have bad nutrition, they have worse anxiety. They have, just worse health because their gut brain is not functioning properly. And it affects the rest of your body. You can, I was going to say you can shut your camera off, but I don't know if you can do that on your phone. I'm sure you could, but anyway, yes. So actually your chakras are, I'm sure you've heard of chakras before, but let's see. But your chakras are actually the mini brains along your spine. And they are actually associated with your vagus nerve, which is your brain stem kind of, and it goes into your organs and stuff. I'm actually glad this one comes up first, because there's actually way more than just 7 chakras. Because when you go with the definition of your organ brains, there's tons of them. Where your body sort of makes decisions.
So, I'm moving away from the science of this a bit.
That's fine.
Do you meditate or do any kind of spiritual practice?
Absolutely. Meditation is critical. I believe, if you want, I can send you some links, but I can show you. I use 2. Are you familiar with Alan Watts?
Yeah, of course.
I love Alan Watts. I want to get his face tattooed on my arm, along with Marx and some other people. He has been an infinite, even more so than Spirit Science. Oh, this is Spirit Science, by the way. They're a little cartoon. But they're very informative and very well done. And I actually think the cartoon, as it seems a little childish on the outside, because spirituality is about love and harmony, it actually ends up working quite well. But anyway, Sacred G Breath is an amazing meditation that's not very long, that I will quickly just scan over by this guy or this channel. Hold on, it's really loud. So I'm going to can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, so here I'm just going to put it on really quick, but you'll see. This is actually I'll send you this video if you'd like. This is a very great video.
The Sacred G Breath is an incredible technique so you can function at your peak potential. In order to gain the most benefits from this technique, breathe deeply, filling your lungs up completely, and as you breathe out, ensure that there's no more breath in your lungs. You will notice partway through this technique, you start to focus. So let's get started. First breath, breathing in through your mouth.
So he does this.
And out through your nose.
You know, and he tells you to breathe in through your mouth and out through your nose while you're looking at the thing, and he tells you how to do it. So we'll skip over that. And then at the end, I am actually going to slow it down, but he fills you with, after you've gotten into the trance-like meditative state that you are achieving, the most you could do with your ability in this video. And then he does this.
I am light, I am infinite, I am the channel, I am expanding, I am psychedelic.
The voice is a little, made to sound like a robot, so I don't know if you can hear him, but if we look on the subtitles, yeah.
I am timeless, I am unity, I am activating, I am resident.
I am resident, I am timeless, I am unity. So basically it fills you up with positive I am statements, as he calls them, which are infinitely beneficial, I find. When I smoke a lot of weed, and I find it to be very psychedelic on me. So sometimes when I need to calm down, I also mix it with CBD. I'm a very big proponent of CBD. THC is great, but THC by itself is too much for me. I need to mix it with a high portion of CBD, which sort of counteracts the anxiety effects. And I will often meditate to this, or I will do Alan Watts' Awakening the Mind, which is a fabulous sort of just put it on in the background kind of a meditation. It's much longer. But it's just him saying, talking about meditation.
Your eyes. Okay, so how often do you meditate?
I do not do it every day, because I should probably. But I view meditation very much as as exercise for your mind. So I think that you should start small and work your way up. And once you are good at it, like a big muscle, you become stronger and less becomes more effective. So I start with like 2-minute meditations. That Sacred G Breath is a great one for starters. And this one too. This one is really great too if you don't want to do breath and you just want to listen to someone talk and do a guided meditation that way. Alan Watts' Awakening the Mind is amazing. And what you do is once you've done it enough, your meditation muscle is strong enough that you just naturally don't have to do it as much, and you could just reap the benefits of having a calmer mind, a more thoughtful and self-critical, self-aware state of mind. And you also, if you do experience anxiety, you could just take a few breaths and relax much easier. So I am, yes, a very, very big onto meditation. And weed and psychedelics, but time and place for that. Meditation is something anyone can do, particularly things like the Sacred G Breath, but I also meditate while high. In fact, actually, I meditate most of the time when I'm high because I smoke weed and it reminds me to meditate. It's like, bro, you need to meditate right now. You've been, you're getting too ahead of yourself. You need to relax.
Yeah. Do you feel, how long have you been, I meditate myself, so you're not really speaking outside of my realm, but how long have you been meditating then? When did you start?
Years ago, probably high school. Yeah, no, honestly, oh my God, hold on. If you want to wait 2 seconds, I literally there's like a superlative picture of me in my fucking high school yearbook meditating. Hold on, I'm not kidding. I think it's this one. No, hold on, it's not this one. It's the next one. Where's 2013? Are you fucking kidding me? Here it is. All right. So, hold on. Here's the book. Graduated from Amity High School, Woodbridge in 2013. So here's my 13 yearbook, and I will show you the picture of literally a picture of me meditating in my fucking yearbook. And it's like the only.
Is this in Connecticut, the school?
Yes, Connecticut. Yes. New Haven area.
What part of Connecticut?
I shouldn't dox myself online, but New Haven. Yeah. I mean, honestly,
that's the capital, right?
Yeah. No. Hartford is the capital, but New Haven is like the second capital. Honestly, New Haven is the unofficial capital. I think a lot of stuff happens in New Haven, or maybe it just seems like that to me because I live here. But hold on. Oh my God, where is that picture? I'm looking for it. I'll find it as soon as I can. Hold on. I think it's these are all the baby pictures. I try not to show anyone else because I don't have their permission. I'm sure that they won't. Oh my God, yes. Here I am.
It's the library?
Yep. On
Nice.
These giant stuffed bears. Yeah. So I've been, honestly, I was born to be spiritual. I am way more interested in spirituality than economics. Like I said earlier, I see economics as a step to achieving the spiritual goals. But I am very much into spirituality. That's my main passion.
I see. Are you do you know who David Hawkins is?
No, I don't actually.
You should search him if you're searching for
I will.
things.
Yeah, I'll search him
the
up
map
right
of
now.
consciousness is it's a big thing.
Okay. Can you briefly describe it to me? What's his name?
Well, his name's David R. Hawkins.
Actually, I have heard of him, I believe. Yes, I think I have. He's the one who talks about, not Oprah. He's the one who talks about like the thought forms and stuff. Is that him?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Explains his enlightenment. Here's a 6-minute video. Wait, I'll just play it really quickly so it's even less than 6 minutes.
I don't know if I want to watch it, but
okay, fair enough.
You can show the map of consciousness is a good model to.
Okay, I can Google that. Let me share my screen. I don't know why I did it wrong. I forgot that I wasn't sharing my fucking screen like an idiot.
I've read 3 of his books, but yeah, this map of consciousness, you can look at it. It talks about the stages of
David R. Hawkins.
Map of consciousness.
There it is, right there. Boom. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it's like is it the circle one?
No, it's upside down triangle. It's none of these. Let me see. Go down.
Hold on.
No, that's the hierarchy of needs. Maybe scale of consciousness would be the best one.
Hold on. It's not totally showing the whole screen. I wanted to expand it a little bit. So you said scale of consciousness? I mean, map of consciousness came up before I even typed in the word map. So I think map...
go down.
I've heard this on audiobook. Yes, this one. I have this on an audiobook, I think, but the problem is it's an audiobook and it doesn't come with pictures. So he's describing pictures and I can't see them. So I was like, what the fuck?
I don't think he talks about much pictures. It's just words.
Oh, it is really? Well, this is the words, or this is the picture, I think.
Yeah, this is
this is great because actually, yes, love and I think fear, because our brain is magnetic fields, our emotions and thinking are magnetism. So love and fear and things like that actually have frequencies, and they are actually patterns of magnetic fields. And so when we open them into our mind, depending on which one we choose, love or fear, it lets in certain things and stops other things. Love is the one to go though. Fear is definitely not the choice.
Right. But
it is an active choice. You have to choose love in order to access that vibration.
This at the 200 mark is when it moves into truth. Everything below 200.
Oh my gosh!
Is
I'm listening.
Go ahead.
I actually have books by this guy. Hold on. I forgot about this guy. Hold on.
All right, let's see.
He did the Eye of the Eye, right?
Yes.
Power versus Force? Yep, yes. I have those. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I have them in my closet right now. I don't feel like getting them. But yes.
Have you read him or no?
I have read the Eye of the Eye. I've read like half of it.
All right.
And that one I liked. But yeah, I had my mom buy a whole bunch for me. I actually have not read them. But yeah, that's how I found him on audiobook, was because I wanted to, because I'm much better at listening than with reading. I'm much better with audiobooks and YouTube videos than I am with actual reading.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Let me explain this a little bit. The map.
Yeah, please. I can't open it. I can't make it any bigger. Unfortunately, I can maybe zoom in.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So everything. I mean, this one has love and fear labeled. They're not. And
Yeah, fear is at 100 and love is at 500.
Right, and this is the whole thing. He talks about everything below 200 is created by your mind or created by your ego, and it's false because it's your own perception, it's your own filter, and
Precisely.
Everything above that. So move into courage after or at 200. You move into courage, which is moving into truth, and it's a different type of energy. It's a spiritual energy, and then
what are the numbers though? Do we actually know? I know that they're like no, it's the level of your arm, right? Isn't that what he said? It's like the tightness of your muscle or something. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about. That's his kinesiologic test, where he tests like, is something true, is something false. He does that with himself and he does it with someone else, and he says the other person
kinesthetic. Yeah.
The other person other person has to be over 200 as well to have a actual test, and you just have to be really getting at truth, and you can't really go in with like.
I would love to talk to this guy and do one of these tests with him. That would be amazing.
Yeah,
he's
I'm really way. So
that's unfortunate.
But it is consciousness now.
He is. He's back in the cycle again. Although actually he's Omega. He's actually probably reincarnated by now.
I'm probably him. Who knows?
It could be. Yeah, I've seen myself as, you know who I actually find. I mean, actually, we're all everybody. To be perfectly honest, I don't think you can be a reincarnation of someone who's still alive though, unless it's maybe the Dalai Lama, because he seems to be the only one on Earth who actually has some control over his reincarnation. But other than him, I don't think you can be a reincarnation of someone unless they died before you were born. Because I believe if you've read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it takes about a month, like 36 days, for a soul to travel around the underworld, the heaven, the death realm.
Where do they get that number from?
Just high levels of consciousness. I mean, because
weed.
Yeah, right. A lot of plant. The Tibetans. They were very. Let's see, Tibet.
I spelled wrong.
Yeah, I did. I'm very bad with spelling, but yeah,
Tibet.
Yep, it's the I had.
I haven't read the book. I know it was a good one though, from what I've heard.
Tibet. Let's see. Yeah, like so. Yeah, I already have. Yeah, they have a lot of. There's this big temple that I think there's a lot of pictures of. But yeah, in the mountains and everything too. Nepal, I guess, is actually more of that. I don't actually know where they are, but the Himalayan sort of regions of the world, the Buddhist monk people. Let's see. I don't know, but yeah, they I think, I mean, if you think about, if you incarnated as one of them, as an ancient Tibetan monk, they would just be, I mean, okay, spirit science actually has an explanation for it, which is that the Kundalini of the Earth was in that place because the Earth has a magnetic field. I'm sure you've heard of the Kundalini. Basically, the Kundalini is your energy serpent. It's the caduceus, the medical symbol. Let's see, Kundalini. It is it's basically the energy, and here's an example of it as the caduceus, which is the medical symbol. It's where that comes from, which is the energy rising up through your chakras and the wings sort of spreading out at your head and at your shoulders. And that because the Earth has a magnetic field and the Earth is alive, the Earth actually has a Kundalini. It's not the same kind of thing as we have a Kundalini, but it is a very powerful energy, sort of where where the energy is orientated on the planet, oriented. I'm not sure, but basically, spirit science claims that the Himalayas and Indian sort of region, this area around here, was where the Kundalini was of the Earth, and that's why the Buddha became enlightened in this area, and Tibetan monks, and why Buddhism was invented and is where it is. And if that's the case, then that would explain, coupled with psychedelics, it's very important. We cannot exclude psychedelic plants from the equation, because psychedelic plants have been in all ancient cultures for thousands of years, particularly in the Americas, but all over the world, including Himalayas and Tibet. and India. You know, ayahuasca, you know, peyote with the Americans again. I don't know of any specifically Asian psychedelics, but they do exist, and they definitely have marijuana. Um, and yeah, and so that coupled with the fact that they were ancient cultures, and you know they lived in the Kundalini of the earth, they had much more access to universal knowledge and truth through meditation. And just because again, it's just the polarity, the polarization of the magnetic field. Basically, it was polarized in such a way that and according to spirit science, it's since moved, and they did not say where it went. I am thinking I don't know where it is now, but it's certainly they said that it was there, and maybe it is. I don't know. Either way, the magnetic field, you know, warped our minds and just precluded us to our nature, you know, and that's why the West and the East actually seem to be two different sort of philosophies, where the philosophies of you know, Oriental philosophies like Buddhism and everything is very oneness. You know, we are all the same. We are one. And then in Western cultures, it has been very much hierarchical, and God, you know, God made us in our image. We must pray to God. You know, we are, you know, that way. So it's sort of like we are pieces on the West and we are whole in the East. And I believe that it is a combination of the two that is the truth. In the case of we are pieces of the whole. We are individuals who are part of a collective, which is
I think my yin is the East, and then my yang is the West.
Yin is negative and yang is positive, right? I believe
yes.
it's like backwards to how it sounds.
Feminine and masculine. Yin,
yes.
Feminine, and then masculine, yang.
But like yin is black and yang is white, which for some reason in my head I think of yin being black and white being yang.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
But you know what it is? You know why that is? Probably because we're on the other side. We're a reverse polarity. Yeah. So I think that's why we think that. Because if you ask someone, you know, who actually is a Taoist or whatever, they'd be like, of course. And if they were raised that way, they would be like, yeah, of course, yin is the white and yang is the black. Or rather, the other way around. Yin is the black. I don't know. I don't even remember. I'm confused now.
Yang is white.
Yang is white. Yes. So yin. Yeah, for some reason we think of yin in the West, we think of yin as white and yang as black, but it is yin is black and yang is white. But anyway, yes, yin is negative energy and yang is positive, or something like that. Or maybe it's I don't actually know. I'm going to say yin yang labeled, and let's just find it once and for all. Yeah. Okay. Yang. Oh yes, yin. Yes, yin is black. Yang is white. So yin is negative. Yang is positive. So we were correct. And yes, so you said yes, because you've traveled the world, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you mean by your yin is east and yang is west, or vice versa?
I'd say my inner world, emotional, and all this stuff is the yin, but when it manifests itself outwardly in the yang form, I think I'm more of the hierarchical.
Yes,
that whole thing. Different like strong foundation outwardly that needs to be in place, but inwardly you can be another kind of way.
Yes, and that's exactly how it is. The yin is the negative and the yang is the positive. I don't know which one is hierarchical and which one I don't know which one is. I think duality actually might be negative, but either way, even if it's positive, the unity and the duality within the unity. The hierarchy is the duality, the you versus like the us versus them, and the unity is while there is us and there is them, we are all one people. We are all one universe.
Yeah, I definitely think that as well. I think David Hawkins is probably the best author that I've read on spirituality.
Have you read any Alan Watts? I've heard him, but I haven't read him a lot. But he's written a lot of stuff.
No, not entirely.
David Hawkins is really good. You are correct. I prefer Alan Watts, I think, because I am more of an audio person. But David R. Hawkins, from what I've read, The Eye of the Eye is a very definitely enlightened individual.
Yeah, I would read Power versus Force. I'd read that one first.
And
then Transcending the Levels of Consciousness is probably my favorite book by him. That explains every of the levels and how to get to the next level, and how we all have a set point. This was the scale of consciousness that I was saying.
Yep.
And how even the world has a set point. Like right now, or when he did it, it was like 212. So it was like, wait, what's
the fact that he can even change, like tell, that shows how connected he is.
Yeah, and like at the time of Buddha, it was around 90, and the time of Jesus, it was around 100.
Yes, I remember that actually. I remember reading that.
Yeah, now we're going through our own transformations, and I don't know where I am on this. I would think in the 400s to the almost 500 maybe.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I mean, just honestly, I think that enlightenment really just is the knowing in your heart and in your soul, not just intellectually, but actually feeling that everything is everything. And I think that is what I think the definition of enlightenment is that piece of knowledge taken, into your heart and mind and like understood completely, not just intellectually. Yeah, I think that a lot more people have reached that stage in the meantime, and so that the time has gone up. I don't know if enlightenment is actually. Oh, enlightenment is 700 plus. So actually, that one is pretty high. Actually, and obviously, yes, enlightenment is pretty. As simple as it is intellectually, actual, real, true enlightenment and taking it in your soul is different than intellectual enlightenment. Which I think is closer to acceptance or willingness, maybe, which is about looks like 310. And 350 for acceptance. I don't know exactly what we're measuring, what the units are. Again, it's something to do with muscular tenseness or something, right?
Do you know? No.
Oh.
His test, it just proves whether something's true or false. Because if you have the test, like you hold out your arm and they say something and it turns out to be false, then your arm will go weak. If it turns out to be true, then your arm will stay strong. So
that's a good test for capitalism versus socialism.
Yeah, that is a good test.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I have the one book on it's Truth versus Falsehood. I've only read like a bit of it, but he starts getting into politics and this other stuff. I know Karl Marx, at least on the scale, because he rated all the Western philosophies, but Karl Marx was way down the list. It was like 150 or something.
Could be. I don't know.
And then like the other guys like Descartes, Aristotle, Plato, they're all in the high 400s.
Where was Kant? Do you remember?
I forget if he's on the list. Because I was thinking about that lately. It might have been like 460 or something. I'm not sure.
Actually, that's a good thing. Maybe we could Google that. Do you know if there might be a list? David R. Hawkins,
you could do books of Western civilization.
Yeah, levels of Western people, of Western philosophers, right? Because I just want a list if I can find.
No, right. Great. Maybe write Great Western books.
Okay, Great Western books, because that was the section that he was talking about it.
And then maybe you might have to do calibration level. Try and put calibration level. I have it on my. It's in the one book I have, but it's
calibration level. Full calibration list. I don't think that's him.
Yeah, this is someone else's.
It is. No, it says David R. Hawkins.
This is someone else's database, I think, but they put some stuff.
Okay, but
I've looked at this.
This is a list. Oh, you have? Do you agree with it or no?
I mean, I don't know. It's not anything for me to agree with, because if they actually did the
Egyptian drafter of the 5 books of Moses, 910. Yeah, I would see that.
The Bhagavad Gita is up very high as well, which is
wow, you can actually test the books. That's interesting. The Vedas, yep, the Hindu Vedas, they're the Om has a name of God. That has its own level too. I'm curious to find where Karl Marx is.
You should search it then.
Okay, is there a search?
Just Control F.
Oh, you're right. Duh. Marx. Karl Marx. Okay. 460. Yep.
No. Read what it says. It doesn't say that.
Oh, it says book collection. Oh, of Mortar, excluding the work. Why? Okay, including the works, the collection is at 450. Okay, so it goes down.
Find them again, maybe.
I don't know. Well, yeah, hold on. One of 6.
Hit enter again.
Yeah. Philosophy by Karl Marx.
There you go.
I've never read philosophy. Oh, dialectical materialism is a 135. Okay. I think that one might be mistaken, but that's just my opinion. I just felt like but that's just my mind.
Is that all that's on there for him? Oh,
No,
140.
German philosopher. Okay. So his philosophy was actually higher than he was. Well, honestly, Karl Marx as a person, I don't know him, so I can't say. Literature, Das Kapital, Oh, wow. Okay, 130. Well, they are of this lesson. There's one even further down. Let's see, Marxism. This is our American youth fighting for communism without realizing it. Oh no, we're realizing it. We're quite aware. I must respectfully disagree with, I think, this rating. I think generally it is correct. But I also I would separate the literature of Karl Marx from the person, of course. I would do a death of the author, as always. Someone can have great works, but be a terrible person. That is just facts. So I don't know him as a human being. But I think, but also it could actually be that because, people in his name have created terrible things. But but then Jesus should be pretty far down the list then too, because people have done terrible things in the name of Jesus. So I would be, so I don't know if that is what's happening.
Jesus is 1,000.
Yeah, Jesus is 1,000. So, yeah. Oh, and so is Buddha. I wonder where Muhammad is. I'm interested to see what Muhammad, Islamic scholar. What? Okay, no, this is a different Muhammad. Oh man, they're all named Muhammad. I don't know.
Maybe Mohammed.
Allah?
I think it was 700 or something that he started out as, something like that.
Yeah. I wonder if Allah. Nope, there is no Allah. And this is quite far down. Hezbollah, I don't know who these people are. Yeah, I wonder who's run these tests, because I completely don't understand the units of measurement, but I understand that higher is better. That is it, but I don't understand how they define.
I don't know.
Heavy metal as a music genre is less than 200. Maybe in general, but there are some pretty I'm sure philosophical and deeply lyrical metal music. Oh, I wonder if rap music is on here, actually, because if rap music is not on here.
I don't know if you could just do a general thing
Rap.
of that, because some could be a lot higher, of course.
It's true. You're absolutely correct. Individual musicians. Yeah, rap music is not on there. I would say hip hop is the other potential that he might have it as. Nope, hip hop. Okay, so there is not even any, rhythm and poetry on here whatsoever. There is a lot of shitty music out there, of course. Any genre will be, greatly overshadowed by its shitty stuff than its good stuff, because there's always going to be more bad than good. But, so this is an interesting thing to see. I don't quite understand the units, but obviously the guy who invented it does have an idea of what's going on. Oh, the map of consciousness is at an 840. So pretty high up there. I think Enlightenment is 700, right?
It begins at like 700.
Enlightenment. Yep, level. Yep. Oh, 850 on this thing. Although the void, state of nothingness, full enlightenment. So full enlightenment, not just enlightenment.
Full enlightenment is
different
1,000.
levels. It says it's actually only 850.
So at 850 is when you transcend the void.
Yep.
And then you start to move into self-realization.
Mm-hmm. Been there.
And then 1,000 is full enlightenment. He even says, though, the stages begin at 600.
Oh no, Christ consciousness,
which is at peace.
Yeah, Christ consciousness would be above enlightenment. That does make sense, actually, because Christ consciousness is I've read this online book that has helped me out a lot. It's actually interestingly book sold as time travel, but it's not about time travel really at all. I mean, it is kind of, but it's like weird. Time-travelers.org is what it is. It looks like a really old website. I found it when I was in high school and I was really high. Yeah, it's like it made in the 90s, but yeah, the 12 chakra system. So I actually found it not by typing in time travel, but by typing in open eye meditation. It seems that if you Google open eye meditation, this does not come up anymore as on the same level. So it was there, but it's actually a method of meditating with your eyes open, where you focus on the edges of your vision. Like your left eye looks at something on your left, and your right eye looks at something different on your right.
Okay.
And you do that. I'll send you a link. You can check it out. If you like to read. I actually have audiobooks on my YouTube channel of these videos. Interestingly enough, but if you like to read, this is the number one thing that has, I mean, it's my enlightenment has been a combination of things. My spirituality is definitely a combination of things. This has given me like 100% psychedelic level realization without any drugs whatsoever, just reading these words. I am not overselling it. Like this is my Bible, this website.
Nice.
And like I said, to promote it, because I am so, in fact, 100% serious about this, I have a whole playlist on my YouTube channel that is that. So if you were to, look at my channel, Manifesting Universal Consciousness is what I call it. And here's the open eye meditation video, but I'm not going to play it for you, but this is what they look like. It is organized not by chapters or by pages, but by excerpts is what they are called. And it starts with open eye meditation. And then the rest is, it's not actually me talking.
This is an audiobook of the Guide to Time Travel, found online.
Yeah, so what I did was I found a female voice to do it. The sound is sharing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you heard her talk. Yeah, so it's not my voice
to be listened to after.
It's a text to speech.
The open-eyed meditation video preceding this in the time.
Yeah. So I have a video that's specifically on the open eye meditation. But basically, what this video, oh my God, it really is though, because it is time travel, because it's kind of underselling it, because, or bearing the lead rather, because what they mean by time travel is moving your consciousness from the third to the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension being time, but as a whole, not just 3D. Think of the third dimension is like a movie that you're watching on TV. The fourth dimension is like the film reel. So, and each of the frames of the film reel is like a third dimension.
Yeah, I've heard the concept before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we may. I just want to look up sacred geometry again.
My phone's about to die here, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, I think we're good now. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully, we'll see you again. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I will have. If you want to plug anything, your YouTube channel or your Instagram or anything, before we go, I'll have links to those. But anything you want to shout out before you go?
Yeah, if they want to check out my YouTube channel, Joyful Savage, it's okay. Post some personal growth, some spiritual stuff, some economics or politics, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, but nice talking to you. Send me some of the links that you.
Yes, absolutely. I'll send them to you. I don't know if I can send them to you over Instagram. If we have, I'll add you on Facebook or something, and we can chit chat that way. But yeah, it's nice to meet you. Send me anything later, that you want to send me, and I'll post them in the description and stuff.
All right, cool.
All right, ending. Bye.
Yep, good talking with you.